Right. Testing, testing. Okay, good. We pretty much hit pretty much all the PTs we wanted. Ooh. So it is doing exactly what we talked about yesterday. So nice. Having 6 o'clock in the morning though. For me anyway. Yeah. This was the level we wanted to close above. We didn't, and then since then we just died, dude. It's probably because of the war. Most of it, probably. Because countries like um, India is very much affected by the Iran war, unfortunately. I was just saying to myself, if Polyric will list you star in a stream was right, I'd be my husband. I do say that a lot, don't I? I go right, okay, everything's good. Let's start the stream, right? In my mind, that's how it goes. So I'd say right. Because I'm generally like looking at the markets, like what I generally do. Excuse me. Dying here. All right, okay. So what I generally do is I tweet or and I obviously put the stuff on the Discord, and then then I check to see if there's any trades running, if I need to take any trades. So in 10 minutes I do that, and then I open the stream. Choking on water there for a bit. That was weird. All right. But all the water, that's what I was choking on. You know, I took a sip and then started choking on water. Wild. All right. Sure. Yeah, I was choking on a dick, Steiny. That's definitely what's going on. I was definitely sucking a dick, and that's what I was choking on. Yep. You got me, bro. You got me. Anyway, the NQ long looks good. Nothing's really changed, but yeah. So currently, yesterday we were looking at Bitcoin to go and hang around this range for a little while. Today, I'm looking for something like this on Bitcoin. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. This is the thing that makes the most sense because most of the people have already restricted the high range here, and most people have already done. And most of the volumetric buildup was at the half end of the sequence, which is here, which generally means there's more shorts in play at this range. So we're probably gonna go on test that range. No, I already told him what to do, right? One thing was if he comes down here, which is relatively realistic, close half of it and then close the rest of it when it hits like break even or whatever it was, which I said yesterday to him. That was my non-financial advice, right? Yeah. Whether he or she or they, whatever it is, do it or not, whatever. Girls don't exist on the internet. That is true. Girls is just guys in real life. How important would you say is OF on NQ 1 minute to get the correct and precise execution? For NQ OnlyFans, I don't know what sort of stuff you want to see in OnlyFans for NQ. I just for auto for auto flow stuff, it can be very useful, right? Like I am already I already have a habit of looking at way too much OF, right? If you know what I'm saying. When I'm trading NQ, that gets me off, right? But for me personally, right, it's just maybe I've just done it way too much. Looking at order flow while trading NQ, that I personally, if I'm 100% honest, I don't think I would be able to trade at the same level of NQ, if I wasn't looking at order flow, right? That's my own, personal thing, right? Is it useful? Yes. Is it like essential to understand NQ? No. Is it like, can you literally be, making millions and millions of in NQ, hypothetically, without doing order flow stuff? 100%. Well, exactly. Look at OF to get a climax entry. Yeah, you get that. You get that. You don't want to get liquidated, right? So you just wait for that liquidity to come in, and then and then and after that, I feel a little off. I feel a little down because I was like, I don't know if I should have done that. I don't know if I should have taken that or not. Right? That's what happens after after the deed is done. So, I guess it's very similar. Right. You guys, okay, yeah. We're gonna talk about some weird shit. I'm gonna stop. Post-trade clarity. More post-trade panic, right? I mean, this, by the way, I mean, I joke about this, but this obviously happens to a lot of people, right? They take a trade, they plan out for a trade, and then the trade happens, and they go, oh, I don't know if this trade is going to work out. I don't know, I don't feel comfortable, you know, blah, blah, blah. They start second guessing, right? It's extremely common. I mean, order flow shows you what's in the candles and the bias and ask, sorry, the bids and ask, but is the level 3 we talking about? Yeah, I mean, like I said, can it be helpful? Yes, but do you need it? You can just understand everything with just price action. Just understanding the candles and the charts and the price action of that, and utilizing, I mean, some level of sequencing, is more than enough for you to be heavily profitable in the markets. Is order flow useful? Yes. Is it like the cherry on top? Is it like an does it give you an extra edge? Yes. If you like that edging, you know, if you like the edging, yes. If you don't like the edging, then no. Different depends if you're an edger or not, you know. All right, I gotta stop. All right, again, it's not make money quick. Yeah. Oh, what did Pepe? Yeah, we took some profits on Pepe yesterday. I forgot to put a fucking level on it. Even though we like said I put a level on it. I think it was this here. It was a 4-hour previous failure. And yeah, we died from there. So it was like a 22% or 20, yeah, 21, 22%. I think it was Pepe. If you watch yesterday's VODs, you'll find it. We're pretty much like here. So yeah, around this time, around 12 o'clock. Anyway, yeah. So probably take and then see how he runs, but probably a one pump chump if I'm being honest at this stage. It would be confirmed if Ethereum does decide to lose this range. Ethereum looking a little bit more bullish, pumpy, whatever you want to call it, comparatively. Generally because it has accumulated for a while. Same as Bitcoin, really. But the thing is, so as altcoins, and it's a lot more easier to move altcoins than it is to move Bitcoin. So there's been a lot of upwards pressure in altcoins in the last week, I want to say. But yeah. Thoughts on this Bitcoin pump by Saya spot buying 1 billion worth of Bitcoin? I doubt him buying Bitcoin has any relation in the markets, because I'm assuming he's not going to buy within the markets. I'm assuming he's buying OTC or some wrapped instrument of some kind, probably an OTC trade. So it's not going to hit the markets, so to speak. So, you know. We looked at this one before. Yeah, we did. It was a trade. Nice. Okay, so the long did work out for a little while. I mean, it did technically work out 20 something percent. So either it comes down to fail here or it holds this, which it did. Okay, interesting. So made a new low, gained the level, and then popped. Until we gain above that, it would have been a continuation. So I don't know when I did this arrow, to be fair. I don't think I did this yesterday. Did I do this yesterday? I think I did it last week. Yeah. So this is when I did it. So if we gain above that, I was looking for it to continue to move up. Obviously, if we didn't, then I was looking for it to dump down to here. And then preferably regain the level and then take the long, but it didn't do the new low. It just did the new failure swing, which it did here. It didn't quite make the new low. So overall, the price action is the same, but it didn't do exactly. But close enough. Just the price action is the same. The trade will be the same. Because all you need is a new low and this low. And then continuation. Give me 2 seconds. Did I say I was going to take this trade as well? I have not checked. I didn't even, I don't know. I do have a conditional trade on this, I think, but it's on like a broker that I generally don't log into, so I didn't check. If I said I would, I probably did. So I probably do have a trade running, but it's not substantial enough, so I didn't even know, honestly. This is like almost 3 weeks ago, so a lot of shit has happened in 3 weeks, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, best case scenario, I'd probably make, 20k, 25k on this trade. I had, much, crazy shit happening in the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, so, I didn't even know. You'd probably get fully stopped out anyway. Yeah, I probably got stopped out on it anyway, because I probably had a trail on it. Give me 2 seconds. Let me log on it. That way I know for sure. Give me 2 seconds. Thanks for the reminder anyway. I had to do a verbal thing. I'm gonna mute the mic. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. All right. I had a long. I don't have a long anymore. I got stopped out somewhere around here, so I made like 14 something percent. Sorry. Wrong. I made around 12%. I mean, that means I probably got some slippage somewhere. I made 11.8%, so it's 12%. So probably got some slippage somewhere, while entering the trade. We wait for refills. Yeah, we can wait for refills. Depending on what happens here. This level is the same as this level. Okay. So until we gain above that, you're looking for it to do the same thing here. So same thing, and the range is new low, and this low. So somewhere around here you want to come down to. Because technically we've already tested this already, right? As you can see, right? So this one is already tested. This one's already tested. So if we lose the high failure, which is here, that's what we're looking to. Now, the only invalidation to that is there is an untested range, right? The only invalidation to this idea is that there is an untested range, which, as always, acts like a sort of like a magnet. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but it's like, it's right there type of a deal, right? So if it is getting if this does get invalidated, it would probably be a trade something along the lines of that, which should present another trade, but I don't know if this is worth it in terms of risk reward. Let me just do a right. So what you'd be looking for it to do is you want it to close above this level right there, and you want to hold this. Okay, so your confirmation would be above here, and your buy entry would be between here and here, so somewhere in the middle here, and your stop loss would be the swing of this range, which is here, right? Which is here. You can front run it a little bit because it's not too bad, but it's relatively tight. But if you can get away with like a 4 risk reward trade on this, yeah, definitely worth it. Um, yeah, something along the lines of this. The condition being you want to close above this on minimum hourly. Preferably on stocks, I prefer 4 hour, honestly. Close like on the 4 hours, that way I enter a trade, but this is a very scalpy trade, so an hourly close is okay. It's not the best shit in the world, but it's okay. But yeah. Other than that, that's the only invalidation to the trade. But there was a trade on PayPal yesterday, which is banging right now, so this is good. It's not the we're not going straight up yet, but this is a pretty good move. So there we go. Before, after. There's also the GoPro trade. I don't know if that worked out or not. No, GoPro did not. Did it just fail from the swing? Wait, no. When was the GoPro stuff? When did I post that? Oh, sorry, that was last week. No, that was last month. Sorry, no, it wasn't yesterday. Because we were like here when we talked about this trade. Oh, it did work out. It did come down. Did it come down again? Oh no, it didn't. No, I'm wrong. Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, this is when the trade was there. So it didn't do a one more retest with the box before it went up. It did go up from here, which is what we expected, but it didn't like give us an entry. So yeah, it just held the high of the swing rather than the low of the swing. Well, you can't get them all. It was a decent move, 30 something percent. I missed the GME AMC frenzy. Yeah, talk about GME. There was like a trade on GME, wasn't there? Yeah, it was literally the same trade as before. This was the untested range we wanted to test. They actually tested it. Okay. Yeah. It was a good trade, like 420%. Adobe. Adobe. I used to say Adobe rather than Adobe. All right. Anyway, okay. Yeah, it does look interesting. I see why you're looking at it. New low. It's gaining the 4 hour. Yeah, it's gaining the 4 hour swing. I mean, it pretty much like, yeah, like if you're in that, good job. Because that's probably the likely scenario. Um, if you're not, there might be a refill opportunity when it comes down to retest the high of it, but take it with a grain of salt. Um, yeah, but still, definitely a thing. So, I might take a conditional on this one as well. While I have the broker open. Give me 2 seconds. You're in from yesterday, nice. So if you're in from yesterday, that's a much better position. Because it looks good for a pop. Obviously, not guaranteed. Nothing is obviously, but Microsoft one as well. The only I don't have one from yesterday. I do have one from last 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whenever it was this one. This is my long-term Microsoft holding because the one from before, a lot of these Microsoft longs, I got the fuck out of here and then here on the way down. I don't have any of my long-term stuff. I even had like one from, no, it's not that one. It's this one. Yeah, 2022. So from like 2 years ago. So I still had some of these ones which I got out of. So because I was on holiday around this time, if you guys remember, right? So I got some fills, and then the rest of it I had to do manually. And originally, I said to myself, "Oh, I'm gonna wait for it to hit this level," and we were like here at the time, after right. And then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait for this," and then I was just looking at it. It was like it's stagnating here, and there's not going above that. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm already up. God knows what, right? Like 100% on it. So I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Fuck it. So I got the fuck out. So this is my long-term holding Microsoft longs. The next would be a little bit lower, but basically if I just remove all the noise, I'm buying a little bit here. I'm buying a little bit here, and I'm buying a little bit here. Those are my 3 buy spots for my long term. They're going to be different buys, for the people, right? I mean, obviously I'll get stopped out on this one. I'll get stopped, if it keeps going down, obviously, I'll get stopped out on this one. I'll get stopped out on this one. These are the levels I'm interested in. It's not like a DCA buy or anything like that. Europe's gonna keep the point. How much did you stop on the current one? The current one, I believe the stop loss is just below the current 4-hour swing. So the stop loss is here. It used to be here somewhere, I believe. And then I only have partial of this. I already got stopped out on some of it here. And the rest of it, I have it here. So or here or here. Well, one of these levels, I don't know exactly, but like somewhere around here below this range. But I haven't really conditioned it too much because I don't really have that much left over. I have like 20% of the trade left, and I was looking for refills, which let's see. I mean, we can still get refills on it. My refills are here, so we'll see. That's why I'm being, I don't have that much left. The reason I'm still holding on to, I only have 20%. The reason I'm still holding on to is because if this does decide to, dildo up, and I still want to be in some trade, even though not that much, still some, right? Better than nothing, right? So currently my stop loss is in profit, since I already closed majority of it. So even if yeah, you know how percentages work, right? I don't explain. Could you please do me a favor, check BE Boom Energy? Wait, Bloom Energy. Sorry. Like I was like, is that a missile? So is that a Bloom? What the fuck is this? Renewable energy company. Oh yeah, it's California Renewable Energy. This is probably, most of it is probably highly subsidized by the government. What do they do? For data centers. Ah. So some data centers went, oh, you know what? We want green energy because we want the PR. Yeah. So this is the company that provides that PR green energy for the California nodes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, looks good. Um, Nothing's really changed. Still looks trending up. Um, are you looking to buy this or do you already have this? If you already have it, definitely look for some PT around this range here. Invalidation would be the swing here or here, depending on how aggressive you want to be. And just ride this motherfucker, you know. Monopolize on the Californian, you know, dumbasses, right? Just because it's a Ponzi doesn't mean you can't make money from it. Yeah, I'm still overall net short. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so probably take profits around this range, and then see if it loses this here is the more aggressive range you don't want to lose, which is this range. More importantly, is simple this one, and if it does, then there's opportunities for it to come down much lower at these levels. Something to look out for. I'll pop it in the Discord as well because we can come back to it later on. This is an interesting one, even though obviously, and this is highly retard driven stuff, but definitely a good pump. Mm. 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 Yeah, we got what we wanted. It did it like in the middle of in the early morning, but it did do what we wanted. Yeah, pretty much the same thing on ES as well. I mean, it's the same fucking range. Mm-hmm. 21k cancelled for now. Yeah, for now, yeah. You say that as if 21k was like a sure thing, Dude, we're at March, right? We have almost a world war. There was like a leader of a country who got like kidnapped, right? And like bro, like we're gonna have a wild 2026, dude. Bitcoin's gonna go to 0 or like 10 million. Like it's gonna be wild. What needs to happen to send NQ to 21k? Um, like a relatively sizable like a terrorist attack in the US. Nothing that happens outside of the US is gonna have an impact. Because what's happening in Iran right now is not really gonna have that much of an impact from a US point of view. I mean, some obviously price of oil is gonna go up. Price of since if people don't understand, like price of oil going up is not only price of oil going up. Price of oil means everything goes up, right? That's how that works. So, um, China-Taiwan conflict would do it. Yeah, I mean it would have definitely have a huge impact on the chip industry. Um, because obviously Taiwan, right? Which would obviously have a huge impact on the tech industry, which would mean NQ is gonna die. But yeah, the Discord stuff is gonna happen at, what did I say? 2:30. When did I tweet? 2:30, I think. Yeah, 2:30 UTC. So in like, wait, in like a half an hour actually. Like 40 minutes. Sorry, 38 minutes. I'm just gonna copy and paste the link in the chat. You can just click on it. That's it. That's all it is. So wait like half an hour. Oh, Snapchat. I have not looked at Snapchat. Well, I mean, I did look at it yesterday, but I forgot to look at it today. Yeah, see if it gains above it. If it does, yeah, there might be an opportunity on it, definitely. It's just very, it's just fucking around way too much. So, what I'm looking for on this one optimally is, right, along these lines of that. Obviously, a lot more PTs before that as well. I'm not really saying it's gonna go straight to there. It could, but no, that's not what I'm saying. But that would be the overall range that I'm looking for on the Snapchat. We'll see. We shall see. Do you use Snapchat? No. I use Snapchat, Instagram, no, TikTok. I do use Twitter, X, whatever. Not not for like just scrolling on Twitter. No, just like for the stream and stuff. That's probably the only reason. And that's pretty much it, really. Gonna can't live without OF. That's true. You playing Expedition? You play Expedition 33? I actually have bought the game, but I've never managed. Never had the time to play it. Honestly. Sorry. Sequence on this. I think it was like we were. I don't know where we were when I did this. It was like here or here. I found an interesting correlation between Dubai crude Brent spreads and market bottoms in the U.S. equities. Found no information about it online, but looks good. The formula for trading views. What's that? Okay. Mm. You do. It's working. I don't know why I didn't show the thing. That's weird. No. I know it works. It's a ratio metric, so I just remove this and then is this one. This is not working for me on this one for some reason. Oh, never mind. It's working. I think it's working. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why I didn't work. All right. But yeah. I mean, all this looks at is, and all this looks at is Dubai crude versus the let's see, but like I know what it is, but like what does this like mean though? I mean, it doesn't seem very useful. It's not working. Okay. They said they start restricting at the top of the range. Why not enough liquidity to up top? Yeah, I mean, no, most of the restrictions are happening here. I mean, some were here, but most of it was yeah, because we lost the high here. That's why we're rejecting the. That's why I have an arrow from here to here. Obviously, this arrow can get invalidated. Well, I mean, if it does this, right? But until it does that, the arrow is in play. Investing chat. I doubt it's gonna be any useful to be capitalizing on, dude. Generally, those sort of stuff are some level of correlation, and then you try to do it, and then he's like, wait, what? It's not doing it. Pump this shit for my and the hood twins. Nah, man. My hood is beefing with your hood, so my hood's got a short on this shit. So dump this shit. Fuck your hood, bro. Yeah. My hood best. Yeah, tell your people to come at me. Yeah, don't be asking us to pull up, dude. I mean, we've been shorting this shit for a while. We got a lot of money and a lot of bodies. Yeah, yeah. Don't want us to pull up, bro. We got that Israeli. We can shoot you through the house shit. You know, we got those. Gotta be careful. We don't need to pull up. The thing that pulls up is our bullets. They just show up. We don't even need. We're not even there. We got snipers and ninjas and shit. That's how much money was made. Anyway, trolling aside, yeah. So until we gain above that, you know, send a code up to money blows up that kind of shit. Goy, yeah, Goy blast. Now, people were saying like trolling like a couple of years ago. You know, they were saying, "Oh, they're gonna use lasers for like missiles and stuff like that. They got lasers and shit." But the thing is, the laser missile interception technology has been around for more than a decade. It's not like a new thing. I think it's a lot more cost effective as well. Interested in the ratio is almost nicer, but then okay, cool. I'm not really a big fan of like that sort of stuff when it comes to validation of swings. Oh, talking of, we haven't looked at QQQ in a while. Yeah, he's just fucking around here. Overall, the long banged out very nicely, but seems like people went very hard on longs in the last couple of days. Some pullback and maybe continuation. Yeah. Um, for most people, the trade is already done though, right? I mean, I've been saying this since I don't know here, like the beginning of February. This is an untested range. We want to go and retest that range. I mean, it took a while. I mean, it took, 38 days, 40 days, whatever. Do it, but yeah. I mean, you can make the argument that this did it as well, but the range was at the high of it. So all it matters now, all that matters now is if it's gonna hold this. If it holds this, yeah, we're gonna get a continuation up. If it doesn't, then yeah, I mean the same as before, death and destruction. Yeah? No way. Is it actually gonna reject? Like, is it gonna bounce from the bottom of the fucking thing and then reject the top of the fucking thing? It is, isn't it? Or ran? Okay, cool. 80k also untested. I mean, if it holds this range, then yeah. But other than that, no. How much is the insuring it by? How much is that in USD? Alright, give me decent. That's a crazy amount. So the VLCC on it is 3% plus market quote, which is like 7 million. How much is that in terms of like a 10x increase? Damn. That's a crazy amount. Your company is probably making a bank right now on it then. Okay, cool. Alright. Sure. Just because you have done this. Okay. Sorry guys, this is a friend of mine. Yeah, he works for an insurance company for shipping. And he's talking about some of the deals he did today. It's crazy. New Galaxy 26 Ultra has a price display option. What are you guys talking about? Is there anything you would recommend to wait for executions in NQ? Would just be like waiting for some kind of intercandle bounce or something like that? I mean, when you're doing NQ, so let's say 1 minute NQ, right? We're just gonna do the processes, right? Up, right? Uptrend, local swing range, local swing, right? That's the level to start the local move here. The first confirmation at the rejection value is here, right? So that's when the highest point. That's the level you don't want to lose. We lost it here. And if we do, looking for it to come down, retest the low of this range. Okay, which we did. And then what we're looking for it to do is we're looking for it to retest the previous level that we lost. And you're looking for it to retest the low of it. Okay. Now this one went close, but no cigar, right? That's pretty close. And then continue the move down, right? Continue the move down. Now what we're doing is we're coming down to retest the previous mid-range or this range here, okay? And currently, it's gaining and it's holding. What is it holding? It's holding the previous range that moved the way down, right? So find the low, find the most local low that moved down. That's the range. Now, what is it doing? It's not holding this, it's holding this. Okay, what is that? Well, that is the previous failure of this range. So that's what it's holding. So it's trying to retain this and confirm the move up. So if we hold this, we're going to go up and retest this. So using all that information, I made this assumption. I could be wrong in that assumption. Of course. So to answer your question with maybe a much more clerical question is there's no like internal trick of this sequence of this would potentially give you an edge towards it. It's just about understanding the whole thing, and the better you understand the whole thing, the better you can extrapolate that into the next price action, which is what my point is by going through this, right? So the question you asked isn't necessarily the question that you're supposed to be asking. The question that you really wanted to know was, how do I know as a trader on the 1 minute, 3 minute when I'm scalping NQ that certain price actions and confirmations is going to make me a higher probability of money, a higher ratio of money compared to just a standard, new low, regain the level, test, and continuation up. This. Which is what you really wanted to ask. Right? Here, and I just didn't do find the low and find the level that took you down and find the previous one before that. And I didn't like do that is because I wanted to you to see how I do it from the whole range rather than just skipping steps, because I could just skip steps because I understand what this is. I don't need to explain it to myself, right? But I don't want you guys to skip steps, right? So to answer, there's no like a trick, but the reason is if I just say to you there's no trick, Marcus, right? It doesn't help you, okay? It's like well, there's no trick, like, and then you go okay, thanks, but okay, cool, right? So I wanted to give you even though it's like a very basic local stuff, I wanted to give you a reinforcement in terms of, well, you have to understand the whole thing, and this is the reason why, and I've presented that case, right? And that's the reason I did this, because a lot of times, you know, someone says to you certain things and you go, I don't know, probably not. Okay, I mean, I don't know. Okay, maybe like he's probably right, but I don't know. I don't want to put money in it. I don't want to, you know, do this. I don't want to do that, right? Because at the end of the day, right, I'm just a random dude on the internet, right? And I don't want anyone to making a position or doing something just from, you know, what I say. I want you guys to, you know, trust but verify. You know, one of those things, you know, people say, right? I have a bit of trouble converting the understanding to puppet trade. The reason you have a trouble understanding it because you are you're trying to figure it out. Okay? You need to know you can't figure there's no figuring it out. You just do it this way or you're not going to make money. There's no like shortcut of figuring it out. And even if it is, it's way in the future. You know, it's like 5-10 years down the line. You go, oh, you know, I could probably you know, shorten this to, you know, this, right, and then and figure it out. But you know, for 99% of people, that's, you know, that's something in the future, right? It's not now, right? So you're still at the stage of trying to figure it out, but because you don't want the lengthy process of trying to figure it out, your brain is going, but like, I'm sure there's like tricks. I'm sure there's like things that I can do that I can check, or some price action or sequencing that I can look at that's going to make this a lot more easier. The simple answer is no. No. Because if it was easy, then 95% of people wouldn't be making would not be losing consistently in the markets. It's a 5% game. If it's a 5% game, you know it's not easy, right? But the thing is, it is easy if you understand the thing. The reason that people don't think it's not easy is because they don't try to understand the thing. They look for the cheat code, right? So then, because, you know, and then they fuck up, and then now they've got some underlying biases of some kind because they fucked up. They don't want to lose money. They got fear and uncertainty and doubt in their minds and in their trading. And now, you know, they're in a hole and they have to first crawl out of the hole before you can go into a solid ground and then start again, right? Which is very hard for a lot of people, you know? I think they're smart and can skip. Well, I mean, yeah, ego, you know, huge, you know, killer of traders. Conscious incompetence. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that is categorized as. You know, it sounds a really nice word to say, but I don't necessarily know how that completely means when it comes to trading psych. But yeah, I mean, it is conscious and it is incompetence, so probably right. Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect. I mean, Dunning-Kruger effect, or as I like to call Twitter people, you know. It was like 99.9% of Twitter. Whether that be crypto Twitter or just politics Twitter or whatever. I mean, so I have a little bit of Dunning-Kruger effect as well when it comes to maybe to certain political, sorry, not political, I'm not necessarily a political person, but when it comes to like global events and certain things, because I look at it from a very financial point of view, from a very binary point of view, while people look at it from a very political point of view. So makes sense. I might be wrong, but I don't think that is quite my case for me. I feel like sometimes I understand some things and I don't, but I always try to understand it from a creator history. The thing is that when I don't understand it, I feel like I'm doing something wrong or misunderstanding some parts of step-by-step process. Okay, so it's the same thing, but it's with additional steps. It's just the same things, but the thing is, you have more of a degrading ego, right? What that means is that you have an ego of some kind that says, you know, XYZ isn't quite XYZ because, you know, I'm smart, blah blah blah. But then you go from you look at it from a degrading point of view. So you're like a British person, basically, right? We like to degrade ourselves to move us forward, right? Because degrading ourselves actually we think is moving us forward, right? It's one of those scenarios where it's like, ah, you know, I'm not that great, you know. I mean, I fuck up sometimes, this and that. Humble brag, if you will, right? I mean, kids call it humble bragging, right? So people can do that when it comes to trading psyche, right? They have an they observe the behavior, they assume the behavior is a much more degradatory behavior, so they assume that what they're doing is to correct the behavior, right? Because they know the behavior is wrong and they try to correct it, so they think they're going down the right process to correct the behavior, but the issue is their diagnosis is correct but their prognosis is incorrect, meaning how they try to do it is incorrect, right? Now, what you said about creating history, that is correct, but if it was that simple, if that was the only thing you were doing, right? Look at it from a binary point of view. If that was the only thing that you were doing, you wouldn't be in the case, or it could just be you're not cut out for trading, right? That could just be the case, right? But let's assume that's not the case, right? But yeah. So still no, it's still bouncing from the range. I mean, it's not quite hitting the PT. I mean, unless you wanted 20 points or whatever, which you did hit, but right, Discord open. Yeah. I'll give you guys like a minute to get ready to click on the link, etc., before I spam the link. Like always, log into Discord and get ready to click on the link because the slots go very quickly. So by the time you click on the link and then he prompts you to log in, and then by the time you log in, the you might already be too late, and the link might say it's invalid or whatever the message is that it does. Okay, so just keep that in mind. 30 more seconds. The way to improve is just practicing and trusting the process as long as fundamentals are correct. It might be so. first of all, do you have a trading journal? Mark right? Trading journal is a must because if you don't know where you went wrong, how do you know you went wrong? You fix it, right? So obviously. Secondly, when you're trading, when you're analyzing stuff, right? Do you invert charts most of the times? Do you invert to see perspective, to see what is the correct way? There's no underlying bias of kind. That's the second thing. And when you are analyzing things, do you start from the bottom of the range and the top of the range? You don't start from the mid range. If you do all these three things, right, then you're going in the right direction. Now, again, I like to reiterate, it might just be that you are not cut out for trading. Okay? It might just be that you're not cut out. Not everyone is cut out for trading. Anyone tells you that, they're trying to scam you, or they're lying to you because they're trying to sell you something, or they're just lying to you, right? Not everyone can trade. Not everyone can be profitable. That's a lie. Okay? So, but if you do the things that I talked about, the three things I talked about, it is the right process. And obviously, the rules that I go into in the beginner videos, right? Obviously, including those as well, obviously. Right? If you do all those things, then you're in the right process. Now, that process might be moot, right? Meaning that it might not work out and you might keep just losing money for whatever reason, right? Because you're, way too influenced by other people, or you got way too much FOMO or FUD, or you're too emotional. Even if you have a trade, you cut it way too quickly because of things you hear, things you see, that you're hearing from someone else, and it's not your own analysis. There can be 1,000 different reasons. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I'll copy and paste the thing. This is a very interesting conversation because I can imagine like 80% of people in chat having this same issue, but they're just too scared to ask the question, or maybe they don't even know what the question is, right? That's why I'm spending a little bit more extra time answering this thing, because this is probably one of the most basic, but one of the most common things that happens to pretty much like majority of people. Majority of traders, obviously not people in general. All right, anyway, 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. Okay, should be full, maybe a couple more seconds, and then we're good. Like always, follow the rules, follow the stuff, read the rules, right? Link your Discord to the Twitch, all that stuff. Most people get kicked out for not doing that, and if you get kicked out multiple times, you're gonna get banned. Okay, you're not gonna get like banned in the first thing, unless you do something really stupid, obviously, But what helped me was using a textbook arrow thingy on TradingView, the writing out my thoughts on live PA that saves picture. You can review it, and save the picture. Yeah, live PA is always good. I mean, record yourself doing stuff, record yourself talking about stuff. Just yeah, and just do live PA. The same thing I do pretty much every single day. Just do that. So what do you mean by link accounts? You can link Discord account to your Twitch account. That way we know who you are in Twitch and we know who you are in Discord. That's all it does. It just links your Twitch name to the Discord name. So if you do something really stupid in Twitch and we ban you in Twitch, then you're gonna get insta banned in Discord, and vice versa. This saves us a lot of hassle with people doing stupid shit, right? Because if you don't do anything stupid, then you're fine. I have a problem when I'm in a losing streak. So like right now, my last 5 trades are 4L1W. So 4 loss, 1 win. I haven't deviated from my system at all. So either just bad luck or nuances changes, which I haven't still adapted. Now I over question my potential trades and have reverse FOMO, pretty much not taking trades I usually do. Again, yeah, that's extremely common as well. So you're literally having the same issue as Marquise, but you are a little bit worse, but it's the same thing. When it comes down to it, it's the same thing. It's fear, right? So because your hit rate in the last X amount of trades hasn't been the best, you fear that what you're doing is incorrect, right? You fear that you could be wrong. You fear that if you took a trade, this could be the 5th time it could be wrong. And you don't want to lose that money. And what is the best thing to reduce fear in trading? What is the best thing to reduce fear in trading that you can literally do straight away? It's not really that complicated. Reduce size, yeah. Reduce the risk. Reduce the risk you're trading at. So what I would recommend to you, if your system is not changed, if you're not doing any changes and it's just minute nuance changes that's maybe fucking up your thing, it could be, it might not be. You don't know, and I don't know, because I can't read people's minds, right? Right? I don't know, and you don't know. So the only way to figure it out is to check if what you think is correct or not. But obviously to check, you still need to trade. But you don't want to lose money doing that. You don't want to lose too much money doing that. So what do? You just reduce your risk and do the same thing tomorrow. You take a break for today and you do it tomorrow. You reduce your risk by 80%. Hypothetically. Like whatever you feel you're comfortable with. Okay? So rather than risking $100 per trade, risk $10 per trade. Obviously, I'm, hypothetically saying this, obviously, right? For some people, $10 might be a big amount of money. But then again, if you don't have $10 to lose, then you probably shouldn't be trading. You should probably get a job first and, save, a little bit of money before you start trading, honestly. But then again, you get what I'm saying. So that's the only thing you can do, right? Because even if I because I don't know, right? Like there's no such thing as like a band-aid fix to trading. It's not that. And if I tell you, right, if I just say, oh, just do X, Y, and Z and you'll be fine. I don't know. I don't know the reason you're wrong. You could just be that you could be wrong because you're just wrong. Or it could be that the market, you just got unlucky. I don't know that. You don't know that. You clearly don't know that. And I don't know that. So the only way to figure it out is to know or have a good inkling on if that is correct or not. And the only way to do that is by trading more. So tomorrow, right? Don't do anything today or whatever. But so tomorrow, new fresh day, take trades, risking 80% less than you normally do, right? 80% less than you normally do. So if you risk $100 per trade, tomorrow you're risking $20 per trade, right? That's what I mean, obviously, right? Simple stuff. And then you see, right? You see, you do the same. You don't deviate from what you were doing before. You don't change anything. The issue is, MK, right? A lot of people change things way too quickly, okay? They have a plan, and it's a plan that has generally worked out. And then, for a couple of days, or maybe for like a week, it doesn't. It's just like, it's not really, my hit rate is pretty shit right now. And then they start changing it straight away. Right? And a lot of the times, if they just reduced the risk and just lost less money and didn't deviate too much, next week they would have been fine. I see that way too much. It's extremely common. Because your fear drives you to do that. Because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to lose money. You don't want to, blah, 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 blah. It's the fear, right? If you can reduce that fear, your mind becomes a lot more cleaner and a lot more calmer and a lot more, clearer. right? And the best way to reduce fear, one of the most simplest way to reduce fear is reduce the amount of money you're going to lose. Because 99% of the time, people are fearful because of the money they're going to lose. Right? I mean, so what is the solution? I mean, it's a very Occam's razor solution, isn't it? Very simple solution. Just reduce the money. It's not complicated. It's very simple. There's no trick to it. There's no cheat to it. It's just that simple. And because it's that simple, you can't deviate from it. You can't change it. You can't, you can just keep doing it. If it happened again 6-7 months down the line, you can do it again. Same thing. Nothing's changed. So what it does is it helps you with your consistency on your losses, Yeah, I did a 17-day win streak on average 80 points daily, lost one day and started to question myself. Months went by and I still not go back to it. Yeah. So, Kroll, like the thing is, if you have a trading journal, go back to your trading journal to that time where you had a good winning streak. What did you do right there? And what has changed after that loss of that day? And try to reverse engineer what you did. That is the only solution. This is why a trading journal is so fucking important, especially when you're starting out. And for trading, you don't need to buy a trading journal or anything like that, right? Just make a Google account and do the online Excel, right? Whatever it's called, right? It's the Google Doc, but the Excel version. And then put a column for the date, the ticker, where your entry was, where your stop loss was, where your first PT was, where your second PT was, where your third PT was, what risk to reward you were planning for, what the ratio was, and maybe like a comment section or like a conclusion section, with like a chart or something, like what was the reason for it or something like that. And then, in the end, maybe like, did it work out? If it did, what sort of risk to reward did you get out of it? Did you get what you targeted, or did you get less or more than you targeted? Right? That's all you really need. I mean, that's like maybe too much, right? But that's more than enough. Even half of that is more than enough. Even the trade, where you took the trade, a chart, where your entry was, where your stop loss was, where your PT was, that is more than, and your risk to reward, and that is more than good enough. You don't need the extra stuff, but yeah. Right. So, yeah, just it's free stuff. I mean, all it takes is time, right? It is gonna take extra time, right? Rather than taking 5 minutes to plan a trade, it might take you 10 minutes. But who the fuck cares, dude? Like, what are you like? You're not in a trading, like, how fast you can do trades competition. Like, who the fuck cares? Yeah, you're wasting double the time that you would. Yeah, who cares? Right? Rather than taking 20 trades a day, you're going to take 10 trades a day. But the 10 trades you're going to take are going to be optimal. Rather than taking 20 trades a day, and out of that 15 trades you lose and you make money on 5. So that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, it's not really that complicated. Anyway, so it's a good hold. I retest the thing again, right? Obviously, I'm just hypothetically saying, I'm not saying 20 trades a day, but yeah. So again, new low, regain the level, test, continuation, very textbook stuff. So yeah, Kroll, you can only get lucky so much, right? You just got lucky. You can only get lucky so much, right? And the market caught up with you, and then what it did was it bent you over, and it went to town, right? No lube, right? So now what you have to do is you have to go back to the days where you were just friends, and the market didn't bend you over. Let me guys. Would you say it's a problem if I TP too early? Like I have set up a 1-4 trade, but I TP at 1-2. Yeah, because well, I mean, you're not playing your plan, right? Like, I mean, it depends on how you're doing the 1/4. If it's like way too, if you're, it has to be realistic. Your trade has to be realistic, right? It can't be like you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna take a long here at 73. My first PT is at 80K. Like, I mean, could you do that? Sure. Could that trade work out? Sure. But we could do a lot of things before 80K, right? So any trades you do does have to be realistic, you know? So and then let's say the 80K was the 4 risk reward, right? So you took profits here instead at 78, which is the 2 risk reward, let's say. Something like that, like stuff like that, right? Because that's the thing that fucks you, right? To aggressively that's a nice little kiss. Anyway, that's the thing that fucks you to aggressively take profits, you know? Oh, it seems there's heavy restrictions pretty much at where my level is. Interesting. At 7,400. Almost as if as if it's a thing, you know. If from your journal you see you have less realized RR than your first TP, do you just change the full FIFO or just change the plan to still take part? If from your journal you see that you have less realized RR than your first PT, okay, less realized risk to reward than your first PT, first TP, sorry, PT, same thing. Do you just change to full FIFO or change plan to still take partials? I don't know. I don't quite understand. So first TP is 3.5 on average, but I realized that 3.1 average. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's not bad, but it could be better. So that's why there's a general rule when trading, which is move. So move the stop loss to first PT after it hits your second PT. Because generally you're only moving the stop loss, generally, not all the time, but generally after it hits your second PT, right? And generally your when you're doing your risk to reward, right? You calculate your risk to reward by your first PT, right? And generally, again, your first PT should be around 4 RR. So if you have a trade, let's say $100, right? And it's going there, and let's say you close 30% of it, right? So you're closing $30. So you have $70 left. And then you close another 20 there, right? Right? So you close another 20 there. So now you have $50 left, right? So what you do now with the $50 on the trade that you have is you move the stop loss to here. That way, even if you do get stopped out, you still make the 4 risk to reward. You're going to make a little bit above 4 risk to reward, but it's above 4 risk to reward. There's a reason you have to do it this way. Because otherwise, what's going to keep happening is you're going to keep shortening your risk to reward. Because you're going to keep aggressively taking profits because you don't feel comfortable. You feel fearful for your trades. The rule exists because you don't want to do that. The rule exists because that way you don't want to move into break even. Because the thing is, if people start moving the goalpost, this is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And next thing you know, you're not going to notice it at first. But when it hits 2 risk to reward, that's when you're going to notice it. And you're going to be like, well, how? Well, because you kept fucking moving the goalpost. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? There's a reason you have to stick to this rule. It's not like a negotiation of, oh, I could do this, I could not. Either you do it, or you're not gonna make. Right? You can make whole plans for multiple PPTs, but if it doesn't hit TP1, then it dies. Most of the time, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah, of course. I mean, if it dies, I mean, you're not gonna have 100% hit rate, obviously, right? Right? That's why your first TP must be realistic, right? Because in every trade that you do, sorry, in every trade, in most trades you do, you at least want to hit your first TP. Optimally, your second TP. That way, you know, you can move the stop loss to profit, and then you get 4 RR out of it, or you know, somewhere around there, right? Right. So there's a lot of to it. You know, there's a reason I say, you know, it has to be realistic, right? Why not just put at break even and leave it? Shouldn't it be come back to your first TP and continue the move? That's why you put it below your first TP. You're not putting it at first TP. You're putting it below it. Because, like I said, if this is your first TP and this is your second TP, again, you're thinking about the wrong thing, right? What is driving you to think that way is greed, right? Greed is good, but managed greed is good. Unmanaged greed is bad because what it leads to is fear. You don't want it to lead your greed to fear because people fuck up when they make money. Generally, people fuck up when they make money. When they make money and they go, oh, okay, you know, I'm making money, and then they start fucking up. And they go, wait, why? You made money yesterday and you're giving it back today. Why? You made money last week and you're giving it back this week. Why? This is the reason. Because you change what made you the money in the first place because you think that you can outsmart the market and you can't. Okay? That's why it's not about the money you made. It's about the risk to reward you made accumulatively. Sure, if it goes up there and it hits your PT and then it comes down and your stop loss is like below your first PT, which is still going to give you 4 RR because, you know, you took some profits here and you took some profits here. And this is, you know, like probably 6 RR. So you took a little bit at 4 and a little bit at 6. So your average RR, even if you have your stop loss here, it's still going to be above like 4 or 5, right? So you're still going to get 4 RR, right? But then the reason you don't do it is because now you're scared that what if it just stops me out and then it goes. That's what, because 9 times out of 10 times, this is the level you want to come back down and hold. Yeah, you are right. That's why you put it below it. You don't put it above it. Like, that's stupid, right? Right? Because 9 out of 10 times, yeah, you want to come back down to the support that we gained. Generally, this is like a gain of some kind. And we're going to bounce off it. Yeah, 100%. And there are going to be times where it's going to go a little bit deeper and you're going to get stopped out. Yeah. But again, you still made 4 RR. Could you have made more money? Sure. You see what I mean by managed greed? Right? Because after, let's say this thing keeps going, right? Let's say it does this, right? It does this little thing, and you are right, and then it just keeps going, right? It just keeps going. Now you're, you're balling right now, right? So it does little this. You haven't been stopped out yet. You know, you're still riding that baby up. And let's say your third PT is here. Now you can be greedy. Now you can say, you know, I don't want to, you know what? Because you're supposed to technically move your stop loss to here. And you say, you know what? What if it just comes down and stops me out? I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep it here, actually. Yes. Then you can be greedy. Because why? Is because this is already in deep profit so much that it doesn't necessarily matter as much in terms of how much more you make. Because you're still in, you're in like 6, 7 risk to reward territory right now on this trade. And that's pretty fucking good. So that's when I say greed is good, but only managed greed. Okay? Does it make sense? Like, record this shit. This is extremely important, okay? So hopefully you recorded what I just said in the last, 5-10 minutes or whatever it was. Because this is extremely important. This is one of the things people fail at. This is an execution error. People know what they're doing. They think they know what they're doing, but they execute it wrong. This is what I mean by execution wrong. Because the smart people will do it this way, right? Take a long here. Let's say we go up there. You've already closed 50% of your trade. So what you're going to do, what they're going to do is they're going to, since I have my stop loss in profit, I'm not going to use 50% of the money, right? The profit, the thing. I'm probably going to use like 20% of it. I'm going to use some profits. I'm going to buy back here above in the swing. My stop loss is still in profit. And I bought back here. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Yeah, as the time goes on, your trade is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Yes, of course, right? Because you're putting in less than you get taking out. But you are at least putting something back in to refill. What that does is you don't get the FOMO to take another trade, which might put you in a back burner because you're still riding the profitable trade and you're still executing the profitable trade correctly by moving the stop loss to the optimum levels. So what it does is it reduces that FOMO, it reduces that fear that you're going to have on your next trade. So on the next trade, let's say hypothetically this was a Bitcoin trade, right? And it's going up, right? Hypothetically, since it's a Bitcoin trade, statistically, ETH will also go up. Maybe not at the same level. So the next trade you're going to take, let's say here somewhere, is not going to be a Bitcoin trade. You're going to take an ETH trade instead. And you're going to be a lot more comfortable taking that because you already have a trade that's running in the same sequence and it's in profit right now, in heavy profits, right? So even if you get stopped out, you're also going to get stopped out on this trade, which means it's a stop loss because it's a stop loss in profit. So since it's a stop loss in profit, it means you've realized the profit. This is a realization of profits. So you lost a little bit of money here, but you made a lot more money here. So this will cancel this out. And now you're in net profit. And you consistently continue this process forward. You keep doing this over and over and over and over again. And what that creates that unFOMO, that unfear, that confidence that you're going to have for the next trade and the next trade and the next trade and the next trade and the next trade, which is what creates that consistency and confidence of consistency. Okay? It's not as simple as, just, after second PT, move your stop loss to profit. There's actually more to it than that. But until you start from here, you're not gonna do this. Because why? Because you're gonna be fearful. You're gonna worry if the trade is gonna work out or not work out. It's way a little bit at the high of the swing, I'm a little bit too late on the trade, and then it works out exactly as you said, and then you start going, oh fuck, I should have taken that trade. And the next trade you're going to do, you're going to be aggressive. You're going to be extra aggressive. And you're obviously going to fuck up that trade as well. So now what you have is one trade has made you lose 2 or 3 different trades. And now you were in a losing streak. And now you start fucking confusing everything and you start, thinking up is down and down is up. And now you want to think, okay, my whole system is fucked. Because now you're at like 4 or 5 losing trades. This is what that leads. It snowballs. That's what it snowballs. So if you nip it in the bud, in the very first thing, it is not going to snowball. That is what I'm saying. Right? It is very basic stuff, but the thing is, though, it removes a lot of things that are a lot more complicated that's going to happen later on. It just stops that from happening. It doesn't stop it whole lightly, but reduces it, right? You can't stop stuff, right? In trading, stopping means there's a level of guarantee. There's no guarantee. What you can do is you can reduce it. The same way you can't stop fear. I'm fearful of losing money. But there's a difference between being fearful of losing 10K versus losing $100 or 1K. Right? There's a gradient to this, right? There's a level to it, right? Even if it's a percentage loss, right? Who teached you more about PA trading, your dad or a job? Probably my dad, and the second is probably the market. The market taught me, and the third is probably City. Like the thing is that when you trade from an institutional standpoint, it's very different level of trading. You're not doing a lot of price action stuff. You're not doing a lot of this sort of stuff. It's a lot more relatable towards more of a news-based trading or quant trading or sequence-based trading or algorithmic sequence-based trading, or like inter-weekly, inter-monthly trading, or if you're not doing that sort of, depends on which, what desk you're at. If you're doing interest rates, which is completely different, so it's not the same thing, It is useful to get an exposure of what, people do, but it's generally not going to help you like 9 out of 10 times. The trading itself is going to help you more than the thing that you learned institutionally while you did the trading. Does that make sense? Like, what information they use. Because the thing is, after you leave, right? After you leave, you don't have access to that information. And informations and ideas and sequences change every day. Every week, every day they change. So you can't say, oh, we used to do this and this and this, and that's how it used to run, and that's how it used to work. It's probably going to be the same thing. Now I'm not an institutional trader, or now I'm a retail trader. Certain ideas, yes. I mean, the risk management stuff, the portfolio management stuff, how you manage your risk, how you calculate risk management, how you calculate the delta, how price action works from a generic point of view. Yeah, I mean, that sort of is very useful, sure. But a lot of the stuff people fail on is the nuance, and that is going to be different. Because the nuance is going to be different, right? Because the nuance you're going to get from an institutional point of view is going to be data. The nuance you're going to get when you're not institutional, when you're a retail trader, is just going to be charts. Because you're not going to have access to that level of data. Does that make sense? So unless, you do insider trading, you know some friends and to tell you some shit, but that's something else, right? I mean, that's something else, right? But yeah. So just because someone traded institutionally, just because someone did stuff institutionally, doesn't mean that they're gonna be confident or profitable in trading. That's how that works. I know a lot of institutional traders, my colleagues, ex-colleagues, people who I knew, in other companies, work for Citadel, Santander, a lot of places, Barclays, Citi, obviously. They're just terrible traders. They were good when they were trading institutionally. It's not like they were untradeable when they were working as well. No, they're pretty good when they were working. But the issue is they couldn't implement the information outside of what they were given. Because they were purely driven from a news-based trading methodology. And the issue with an institution getting the news is very different from you as a retail trader getting the news and the data. Right? Their data and news and the things you're going to get, right? Nowadays, it's not necessarily news, it's more data now because it's more algorithmized, it's systems and black box data stuff, is, worth something that's worth millions and billions of dollars. It's code that's worth that. You here with your RSI and your MACD and your free subscription of X, Y, and Z, you're not going to have the level of data. It's like comparing a scooter to a Ferrari. Yeah, it's still going to get you from place A to place B, sure. But a Ferrari is going to be a lot more effective in getting you from place A to place B compared to a scooter. Right? Maybe not a Ferrari, but like a rocket. Let's say. I don't know, like something fast and expensive. I would think it would be vice versa because, you're going to be more pressured if you're trading someone else's money. Yeah. You're going to be in a lot more pressure if you're trading someone else's money compared to if you're trading. In my opinion, that's what I experience personally. Now, obviously, there are people who are opposite that, but most people that I know and the people who talk about this conversation, they're more confident trading their own money, trading their own stack rather than trading someone else's. Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. Obviously, there are people who are weirdos who don't have that and they're different. But like 80, 90% of the time, that's the case, yeah. It was Ferrari from last season. Didn't they stop the Middle East F1 stuff? Was it in Qatar or Dubai? Yeah. A friend of mine had a thing, so in Bahrain it was, sorry. Oh, and Saudi Arabia. Depends on whose money if it is and if they're in the I mean, if they're in the mafia, then that's that's another level of fear, yeah. It's a leveraged fear. You're gonna be in fear, but leveraged. But if it's like, if it's a job and it's for your work and it's like just standard investors or stuff like that, you're still gonna be fearful, but it's not the same thing because they're not gonna shoot your kneecaps, right? The worst thing that can happen is you're gonna get fired and shit, right? The whole explanation you just gave about PTs is only applicable if and only if the trade goes to TP2, and if most trades only hit TP1, you only make 1 hour on trade. That's how you could make 4 hour on you. How do you optimize that? Okay, so no, I'm not saying most trades only go to 1 hour. I'm saying make the 1 hour realistic. It could mean that at that time, yeah, the trade is only going to go to 1 hour. Yeah, it could be the case that you've taken a trade and it only goes to 1 hour, right? Sure. Right? How can you fix this? I mean, there's 2 ways to fix it. Either you just keep the trade that you did, you don't fix it, you just hold on to it. Or you go to the smallest time frame, generally like a 3 minute or a 1 minute, and you put your stop loss below whatever the most local swing is. And if you're still fearful because of that, don't take the trade. If you're still fearful, then rather than risking $100, risk $10 and take the trade. That way you don't care about whether it's going to go to second PT or not, because the amount of money you have on this trade is so small, it's not going to matter too much. You're not going to be worried about it too much. Right? There's many ways to do this. It's just most people don't want to because, well, you're not gonna make as much money. So to them, when you're learning trading, to me, right? When you're learning trading, your focus isn't to make money. And I know it sounds a little counterproductive. Your focus, yeah, you're still gonna make some money, but your focus shouldn't be to make money. Your focus should be to have a system. Right? Because if your focus was really to make money, you would just do 100x everything. And then, you make money or you're going to lose it all. You YOLO that shit. No, that's not the aim of the game. The aim of the game isn't to make money. It's to make consistent money. So to answer your question, Shiny, is you do it this way because that is what leads to you making consistent money rather than just doing full in, full out every single time. Which you can do. Sure, you can do full in, full out. You can do here, and this is 4 risk to reward, and do full in, full out. You can 100% do that. And in certain circumstances, I would even recommend you do that. Right? Like, for example, when you're trading NQ and stuff like that, and you don't have too much amounts, units, or trades, you do full in, full out until you gain the confidence. Yeah, you can do that. Sure. If you don't have the confidence to consistently range the trade, right, by, you know, buying back and whatever, just do full in, full out. There's nothing wrong with full in, full out. You still made money. But the issue is, as soon as you do full in, full out, what's going to happen is now you're going to be like, oh, fuck, I don't know why I closed here. Man, if I just held, I could have made so much money. And that's going to keep happening. And you need to know that that's going to keep happening. There are going to be times where it's just going to hit you and it's going to reverse and you'll be like, whoa, glad I fucking got out there. Yeah. But there are also going to be times where this is going to happen. And you're going to remember this more than you remember this. So it's going to feel like this is going to happen more than this. And then now you have another problem. So the reason that the rules exist is to not have this problem in the first place. But sure, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Because by the time you have the issue, it's already too late. That's why, right? If you already have the issue, it's already too late. You're already down in the hole. It's too late. Now you have baggage. It's too late. It's like the girl who came out from an abusive relationship, right? She's got way too much baggage to be a normal person, right? Way too much shit. Can she recover? Sure. Is it gonna take like 10 times harder? Yeah. But if you filtered who you go out with, who you hang out with, who you marry from the beginning, and you didn't, go out, with, chat, Tyrones and all that stuff, then yeah, it's not gonna happen. So what I'm teaching is to pick the James and say fuck you to Tyrone. That's what I'm teaching right now. Because by the time you pick Tyrone, it's too late. It's gonna be 10 times hard for you to get the fuck out. And most people don't. James might be boring and he might not have a 10-inch dick like Tyrone does. But your life is gonna be a lot more easy. Right? These analogies, bro. That's the old point. Yeah, I mean, the Tyrone is the greed, right? That is the greed, right? James is the consistency and the plan and the thing, which is boring, right? It's boring shit. You want the money, you want the Lambo, you want everything now, right? 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 Tyrone is the 10-inch dick, right? And James is the, the 5-incher, maybe 4.5, yeah. Whatever the average is. Just rent it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, joking and trolling aside, hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm just having fun, but yeah. Need to figure out how to size the opportunities when Tyrone is free. True. I mean, if you want, you want the Tyrone. Yeah, sure, definitely. That's why, after you hit your second PT, right? Fuck James, you go for that Tyrone. You go for that big dick profit. You min-max the shit out of this trade, right? You end up with 20 risk to reward. Who the fuck wants 4 risk to reward when you can just min-max the shit out of it and get 20 risk reward. But only after it hits certain parameters. You want to be, right? I'm sure you've heard this thing before. You want to be extremely aggressive towards your losers. Sorry, extremely impatient from your losing trades. And you want to be extremely patient with your winning trades. That's what this is. You min-max the shit out of your winning trade and you cut your losing trades like a motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah, somehow some person was interviewed and they said that. I don't know who though. It isn't about the length, it's how you use it. True. True. Plus it's also about the length. That James is your main chick and Tyrone is your side chick. True. Watch Tyrone maxing strategy hit Twitter tomorrow. Anyway. Why did it pop? I'm clicking something. I'm clicking for Tyrone, obviously. No, this is still in play. I mean, nothing's changed. I mean, we haven't had a close above, have we? No, we haven't had a close above. Not even on the hourly. Not yet, anyway. Tron? Sure. He's clicking on something to be patient. Anyway, I mean, the long worked out very nicely. Since then, we haven't really looked at anything. I mean, it did hold this here a little bit. I'm just gonna go up there and retest this, which is, I'm assuming, a daily swing. Oh, it's already done. Okay. So, Tron is gaining. Interesting. Yeah, I'm a fidgeter, dude. I fidget, like, all the time. I used to do the little pen spinning thing when I was in school and uni. You know, the little thing. I'm a fidgeter. I'm always fidgeting. Anyway, so, you know, whenever you hear a clicking noise or something, or like a sucking noise, I'm fidgeting. It's nothing to be worried about. And I'm not like, you know, if you know, hear those sort of noises. Yeah. Anyway, I keep diverting the conversation to wild stuff. What? No, I didn't say anything. Anyway, so yeah, so if it does that, and you know. Oh shit! What time is it? Oh, I got some sessions I need to do actually. Wait, how long have I streamed today? 2 hours? Market's waiting for FOMC. When is FOMC today? Like in half an hour? Or is it like later on in the night? Oh, it's tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, Wednesday. Yeah, sorry. I thought today was Wednesday for some reason. Oh, because I streamed yesterday. Right. Because I generally stream on Tuesdays, don't I? So I streamed yesterday and I streamed today, so I thought today was Wednesday. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, it is tomorrow. Sorry, it's just me being stupid. Yeah, it's tomorrow. Wednesday, every Wednesday. Getting old, yeah. Wednesday here. Asia, Australia, maybe. Thursday? Thursday. I got a couple of sessions in like half an hour, so I'm still catching up to some of the sessions because I've been pretty busy for the last 2 weeks. So okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so it is holding here and is bouncing off it. Okay. This was like really good because it just did it to the dot. That was good. All right, and then obviously the NQ from the stuff we talked about yesterday. And when we were like here, we talked about this move, which we pretty much did as well. And it is literally rejecting my fucking arrow as well, which is, wild shit. But hey, probably a reason I stopped the arrow there. So from this arrow to that arrow. Nice. The trade is done on it, so this is a pretty good trade. I think it was like a 300 something. Yeah. Something about you. I pretty much already. I have most of my shorts already closed. I've got 6 units of this one left, and then I have 2 of this one. The rest pretty much got closed here, and some got stopped out on this move. I had my stop loss like, is it this move or this move? In this move, sorry, my stop loss was like here, so I got stopped out. Yeah. I'm glad, I, de-risked a little bit from the Middle East, Dubai and stuff when I did like a month and a half ago. Um, Even though I didn't know why at that time, because most of my friends were de-risking, and I was like, wait, why? And they wouldn't. Most of them wouldn't tell me. They were like, oh, I'm under, whatever, and I'm under discussions with it. I can't say much, but they were relatively confident, so I was like, that's why I talked about it on stream. And I was like, so glad I did. Glad I did. Because now I can just buy on the cheap. 30, 35, 25, 28% cheaper. Were they part of a certain? No. Multiple people from multiple countries from multiple religions. I don't even know half of what their religion is. To be fair, not to be honest. I think most people knew that it was coming because Trump fucking was the U.S. military was sending ships. Like, I mean, I think we all knew it was coming. We didn't know when, obviously, right? That's why I said, it's probably a good time to de-risk. Anyway, yeah, so if we hold this continuation up, so currently it's a nice gain. We're holding proper levels, so continuation up to the high 78s, 80k, 83, stuff like that, if we hold. If we don't hold, then what you want to be holding is pretty much this, where I have this level, right? So locally, the level to hold was this. We didn't, right? We didn't hold it. So right now, what you're looking for is a retest of something lower, right? Which is the 4-hour, or in this case, the daily level, right? This is the daily level to hold, which is where I have my arrow, right? I have a little bit lower, right? But this is the daily level to hold. If we hold, yeah, I mean, it could definitely continue to move up. Sure. If we don't, then, I mean, it's... everyone's expecting indices to go down. Why? Because of, like, the war? The thing is, though, right? This... okay. This war isn't, like, it's not as... not yet, anyway. I mean, it could always get worse, but as of now, it's not as impactful in the financial markets as other wars. Like, specifically in the financial markets. It's obviously going to make a lot of things a lot more expensive because of oil and stuff like that. But if you want to exclude the oil part and the gas part, a lot of other stuff is not going to be too much of an issue unless this continues on. Unless it continues on for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, blah, blah, blah. It is going to have an impact because a lot of the money, which is in the Middle East, are going to start de-risking out of US companies and US industries and US AI and all that stuff, which is also the money that goes there, which is going to add to the uncertainty, which is going to make the NQ dump, which is going to pretty much make the S&P dump, which is obviously going to entitle the same thing with the FTSE in the UK, which is probably going to make the German dump, which is going to make the Nikkei, make the A50, China A50 dump. So it's going to be a domino effect. But for that to happen, it either needs to escalate, like, let's say the Strait of Hormuz gets, like, no one has access to it now, and America and whatever can't secure it. It's completely fucked. Yes, or the thing is they still try to, and then the war continues on for another month or something like that. Then the uncertainty will build up, And then I mean, even if he dies, I don't think he's dead. But let's say even if he's dead, I don't think it's not going to impact anything. Unless, like I said in the beginning, unless there's some big event that happens in one of the Western countries, like something substantial that happens in the Western countries, it's not going to impact the market. Like an incident, right? I'm not going to speculate, but every country, Western country, is in a very high level of alert, right? So I doubt something's going to happen, but if something like that, then yeah, it's going to impact. Or yeah, all like China and Russia doing some weird shit. Yeah. Could Iran bomb US soil? No. Like, could Iran have people on US soil who do bombings? Yes, obviously. It's people, right? But could Iran, like, send a missile to America? No. That was one of the reasons that America and, all the other people, which is, probably right, that they started this war in the first place. They don't want Iran to have the capability, not only the nuclear capability, but the interballistic missile capability. Even with the low amount of capability they have, look how much, you know, the Middle East is fucked. Now, I'm not saying that the invasion was a good thing or a bad thing, right? I'm just stating a point, which is a correct point. Trump said the safety of the Hormuz is not a US concern. Technically, he's right, because it's not going to impact US oil or US anything. It's actually going to be more beneficial. The thing is, though, the Strait of Hormuz closing is actually more beneficial to America than any other country, because they are the one of the largest producers of oil, right? So now they can supply oil rather than them using their own oil. They can now supply premium oil because oil prices will go up to other countries, you know. If you guys in America and you're scared by bombings, then they've already won. Yeah, that's also a true point. The anti-terrorism head in the USA resigned, saying there was zero threat to USA, and Trump lost his head. What? I don't think that's the reason. How you can't say there's zero threat to USA? That's stupid. That guy needs to resign. That's a stupid thing to say. There's no zero in anything. Like, that's a stupid thing to say, bro. I'm assuming it was like a political statement of some kind. But that's a stupid thing to say. You can say minimal, you can say there's, you know, highly, we don't have any data, or you can say stuff like that. You can't say zero there, that's stupid. Like no imminent threat? Yeah, but the thing is, there's always imminent threat. There's always imminent threat. Like there's always imminent threat. That's why that place exists for a reason. There's always imminent threat. There's always people trying to bring down, right? There's always imminent threat, right? If under that logic we should be at war with the world, yeah. Every country is war with the world, yeah. People only have friendly relationships. They're not friends. Like, countries aren't friends. If you think countries are friends, you're delusional. Every country does things benefiting their own. No one is, when I'm talking, I'm from a geopolitical point. I'm talking from a country and economy point of view, okay? I'm not talking from an individualistic or a group of individual point of view, right? I'm talking from an economy or a country point of view. There's no country or an economy that's a friend to another thing. It doesn't exist. Everyone is working for their own benefit. There's interest. There's no good and bad, right? Then the issue is hot war versus cold war or economic posturing. It could be both, dude. Like, quite, it's so hard because people, it's very party politics, right? Just think about it, right? From a very unpartisan point of view, right? America, you can't say America doesn't have enemies. Of course they have enemies. You can't say Iran isn't an American enemy. Of course they are. Of course they are. Right? There's many examples of they are. Now, you can make the argument that America probably shouldn't have struck Iran the way they did. That's a valid argument. But you can't say Iran isn't an enemy of America. That's a stupid argument. That's just, there's like thousands of reasons that's why that's not untrue. And it might be that it's a good reason they're enemies. It might be that you can also make the argument that because of what the things America did, that's why they're enemies. And that's a valid argument, right? But you can't say, you know, Iran isn't an enemy of America. The same way you can't say China isn't a competitor to USA, or China isn't an economic enemy to the USA, right? Or you can't say Europe is not an economic enemy to the USA. Europe is most definitely an economic enemy to the USA. If trades in US in Europe goes down, and if American can supply that good or that service, that's definitely a net benefit to the US and net deficit to the Europe. Right? That's how geopolitics works. There's no, you know, good or bad. As soon as war starts, both sides are bad. Both sides are evil. There's no good versus evil. That's a fairy tale bullshit. It doesn't exist. Because in war, there is kids dying, there's families dying, there's schools getting bombed, there's hospitals getting bombed. Yeah, people don't try to bomb them. And you can make the argument, no, maybe they do, right? Whatever, right? Who cares? But that shit happens. So war is bad, of course. War is evil, of course. You can't say, like for example, people say, Nazi, even if you go back to World War II, right? Even if you go back to World War II and say, oh, we were the good guys and Nazis were the bad guys. It's not as straightforward as that. Both sides did evil stuff. Both sides did evil stuff. Even in a relatively clear-cut war like the World War II, Even in such a war, yeah. I like the Prime Minister's perspective, say neutral. I mean, the reason he's staying neutral is because of the base, right? So what's happening in the UK right now is the Green Party is winning, or is trying to win a lot of stuff, and the Labour and Conservative is not. And the Green Party, a lot of people, what happened was because Labour and Conservative parties didn't do as good when it comes to Palestine and all that stuff. So a lot of the Labour votes used to be, in a lot of places, a lot of people who were Muslim and stuff like that used to vote Labour. And they're not doing that anymore. They're voting actually Green, or they're actually even voting the other party, which is the Reform, right? So Labour is losing a lot of seats, a lot of things, right? So what's happening is they're trying to stay neutral, not necessarily because they're neutral, because the thing is, right, what the US wants is to get out. Okay, I think this is my opinion. Take it or leave it. What America wants is to get out of NATO. They need a reason to get out of NATO because NATO is not beneficial for America. It is extremely costly and it's not beneficial. Right? Extremely costly, not beneficial. And they need some reason to either get out of NATO or get other people to pay more into NATO. Probably the latter than the former, right? But maybe the latter than the former, right? Get the other people to pay more, make because Trump does some weird shit. Like he does stuff that is completely abnormal that people do when it comes to business, which sometimes works, sometimes it blows up in his face, right? And what he's doing is what I think he's doing is posturing towards as if he's like saying, you know what? I need an excuse. I just give me an excuse. I'm going to pull out, right? But he doesn't really want to pull out. But he wants to posture that he wants to pull out because he wants to basically mob mentality here, right? He wants to force the other people in NATO to do their thing or to pay more or pay their share or whatever it is to do that. Because the issue is what's happening right now in the Middle East is not going to impact America too much. It's going to impact Asia and it's going to impact Europe. Because what's going to happen, it's not going to impact, it shouldn't impact the UK too much either, because UK should have a lot of oil from the north, from up north. But it's going to impact a lot of countries in Europe. Because now they need to grovel back to Russia to get oil. They need to either, obviously they're going to be eating through their reserves and they need to go and grovel to Russia. And most European countries don't want to do that. That's a bad thing. Because for the last 2-3 years, they're saying Russia bad, Russia evil, Russia this, Russia bad. Germany's already done that. Germany gets its fuel and energy from Russia. So Germany already capitulated. Germany capitulated a long time ago. Because people are dying. Like old people were fucking dying in homes. They get... And Russia obviously sells them much more premium, right? It's a lot more expensive, right? Because Russia needs to fund the war on Ukraine. But that's what they're doing. And the issue is America, it doesn't have an effect with America because America, what percentage of America? I think it's like 4% of net oil and gas from the Strait of Hormuz goes to the US. It's like 4%, maximum like 6%. And with Venezuela in their side now, whether you like it or not, they already have the denser crude oil, which is the thing that America didn't have. Because Iran has that as well. Iran doesn't have too much of it, but it has a little bit of that as well. But now they get it from Venezuela, whether whether it's, some deal or, they're putting the gun to their head. Who the fuck cares? They have it, right? They have it, So it is going to affect more Asian countries. So countries like India, Japan, South Korea, China a little bit, but not so much. Because China also gets a lot of oil from Russia as well. But the issue with Russia is Russia doesn't have infinite oil. So now the question is, does it sell oil to China? And they have a deal. Russia and China have a deal in terms of what price they want to sell the oil to. But if Europe now says, you know what, we want oil as well, because the war's been happening for X amount of weeks, we're running out of reserves. We want oil as well, because every country needs oil. Surprise, fucking surprise. Every country needs oil. Like, right? I mean, that's how that works. People always say, oh, because they have oil, Russia, America invades. Like, bro, like, you need oil every day. Like, you're not going to survive if you don't have oil. Like, that's how economies are run nowadays, right? That's been the case for the last God knows how many years, right? So it's not like wanting oil is bad, right? It's just the way they go about doing it, right? That's bad, right? The idea of having oil or wanting oil isn't the negative thing. It's like wanting food. Economies need oil. It's food. It's just, how you go about getting that oil. That's when, question marks and things arise, right? Most need USD to purchase oil. I'm okay. I'm talking about specifically Iranian oil. Okay. Iran doesn't sell oil in USDs. It sells oil in RMB, the Chinese currency. By the way, if you weren't aware, okay, so Iran hasn't sold oil in USD for a long time. Saudi Arabia does, and all the other countries do, but we're talking about specifically Iran here. Iran tankers are still getting through to China. Yeah. Oh, yeah, obviously, because they have a deal. That's all the point of this war. So, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is the petrodollar. Yeah. I mean, if you fix the petrodollar, then you're good. Because petrodollar is how you might think petrodollar is how America works. No. Petrodollar is how all Western economies work. All the Western economies work on the petrodollar. Just because it has the word dollar in it doesn't mean it's an America thing. Okay? All economies, all Western economies, right, work with petrodollar. Spain, even though Spain hates America, it runs on petrodollar. Okay? You can't avoid it. Okay? It is what it is. You might hate the political party, or you might even hate the country for whatever reason. But the issue is, without the petrodollar, your country is dead economically. And also, physically, because, like I said, it's food, right? That's something people need to understand, yeah? America can't leave NATO because EU owns 40% US debt held by foreign countries. Is that not big enough collar? Not necessarily. Because the debt is it's the way debt works, right? It's not as simple as, it has US debt. That's not how that works. They don't have US debt as in debt. They have it as in bonds. And the US and EU economies have used that debt, that bond, to purchase stuff, to use it in leverage to do other things. So if that is useless, the EU economies are going to hit harder than the American economy. Does that make sense? Because the EU economy is built on top of that debt. Does that make sense? So it's not debt as in, it's not a negative thing. It's actually a positive thing. A debt is a positive thing. Debt isn't negative. Now, obviously, debt is negative because, debt equals negative, right? But from a geopolitical, from an account book standpoint, debt is a positive because that's how banks run, that's how economies run, that's how this works, right? From an individual point of view, debt is bad, yes. From a business, from an economy point of view, debt is the principal money that you use to do investments, to do other things on top of it, to that's how banks work, that's how businesses work. Yeah, asset, that's the word I was looking for. I can find the word, right? Debt is an asset. Okay? Right? It is not a liability. It's a liability as an individual. It is an asset as a business, as an economy, as a country. It is an asset. It is not a negative. It is a positive. It's also a positive from an individual point of view if you know how to use it as well. Like, for example, what millionaires and billionaires do, they have assets. They have, let's say, a stock, and they borrow against that stock, which is a debt. But because it's a borrowed debt, they don't have to pay taxes on it. So it becomes an asset. So it is only a liability to poor people. To rich people, debt is an asset as well. Because you can't tax a negative, right? And technically, by law, a debt is as an individual a negative. But if you have enough money, you have enough, let's say, assets in stocks and bonds and this and that, then you can use that as principal to borrow against, The famous Skolsky said he's over billion. That guy's a little too stupid. I know, I mean, debt is good, but like there's a limit to how much you can be in debt. That guy does not have the asset valuation of $1 billion plus. His debt is over his asset valuation. So that's actually a bad thing. It's like me borrowing like 10 million if my asset worth is only 5 million. Like, yeah, I mean, sure, that could be like, but in the long term, that's bad. When you're $1 billion in debt, it's the bank's problem, not yours. There's a level of truth in that statement. That is sort of true. But the thing is, I'm sure he's not borrowing from one bank. I'm sure he's borrowing from many banks all across the world, right? So if it was one bank, then yeah, I agree. Because now they're facing liquidation, now they're facing liquidity issues, and generally, if that's the case, then generally the government will bail them out, right? But I doubt, he's got debt in like, for that individual, right? He's got debt in like one bank. I'm assuming it's in multiple banks, in multiple jurisdictions, in multiple economies, in multiple countries in the world, right? So it's not the same thing, not one-to-one the same thing. Buy, borrow, die. This is the way. Yeah, like if you have enough assets, yeah. Debt or debt can't, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting geopolitical thing. I mean, this is obviously my opinion and my ideas, but I am obviously, I don't have a dog in this fight, so as to speak. I'm not a big fan of Trump. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of Iran either, because every Iranian person I know wants this war, right? Wants the IRGC to get kicked out. Now, because I don't live in Iran, I'm not an Iranian, I'm not going to make a comment about it. But like I said, every Iranian I know, for sure they're Iranian. Obviously, people can say they're Iranian online, right? But every person I know for a fact they're Iranian, they come from Iran or they're whatever, don't like the IRGC and don't like that, right? So I'm only purely looking at it from a pure economic, point of view, I don't like Trump. Well, I mean, I don't like, okay, the thing is, you don't have to like Trump to agree with some of the things he's doing. I agree with some of the things he's doing, right? So when he kidnapped, the guy, the Venezuelan guy,
Yeah, I don't like him, but that was pretty badass. Not gonna fucking lie, I was pretty fucking badass, right? Right? Because now they have one of the biggest oil reserves in the world, right? Actually, not one of the biggest oil reserves in the world in their under their thumb. Now, you might hate the guy, but from a strategic point of view, that was a boss move. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like Trump as in like he says some weird shit and he's, right? But he's not stupid, is what I'm saying. Like, he's not stupid. What people think he is, right? Because because the things he says. Right? You don't wanna listen to the things he says. You want to listen to the things he does, right? It's the same as any businessman. Like the thing is, like, maybe I have more exposure to this than your normal people, but every like businessman or any high level people I know, right, who are, directors or this and that of some kind, they say some weird fucked up shit, right? In terms of politics, in terms of society, in terms of men and women and all that weird fucked up shit, right? Because right, because they have fuck you money, or some of them have fuck you money, right? And some of them think they have fuck you money, right? But it's not necessarily about what they say, it's about what they do. So that's something I learned a long time ago. I don't pay attention to what someone says. I pay more attention to what they do, And I've also read the Art of the Deal. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit in that book, but there's a lot of, good stuff in that book as well. Which is, pretty much the same as like 99.9% of books. Like, I mean, there's a lot of bullshit in every book. The bull going to the China shop. I never liked some of the pieces in the shelves either, but the store was still nice. I mean, it's not really a bull in the China shop. Yeah. Not saying Trump isn't doing some of this stupid stuff, but he's saying more stupid stuff. Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, though, like, this is how politics works. People care more about what Trump says, the way he says it, rather than what he does. Right? He said it in this way. Okay, you're allowed to be angry towards that. I personally don't care. I don't necessarily care about how someone says certain things. Honestly, I just don't give a fuck, right? I care. Now, this is in real life as well. Like, people say, I've hung around people who say some weird shit, right? I don't really care about certain things people say, right? I care more about what people do. Is your wife, my wife, yeah, or his meaning behind the statement? Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's also another thing. Yeah, he says some stuff and people, clip it some way, like, and it's just weird. People are weird, right? It's just party politics. If there's a people used to, I really like this saying. Suppose someone says is like, oh, if people have become so against Trump, so against the idea of Trump, they support Hezbollah, they support Hamas, and obviously there's a distinction between Palestinians and Hamas. Obviously, everyone understands that. Only people who don't understand that are stupid people, right? Right, and like ISIS and all that stuff, right? Imagine 10 years ago, you go to New York and people were shouting, "We support blah 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 blah." Bro, that shit didn't happen, and it's happening more and more and more now. And people saying, "Oh, Trump is such a dictator." If he was such a dictator, why aren't those people locked the fuck up? There's a huge difference between free speech, right, and violence, right, inciting violence, right? So you can't tell me with the same mouth that you support XYZ, which are crazy people, and you say, oh, this guy's crazy. I don't care what you think. Right? It's like, honestly, like truth, like honestly saying, if someone says to me that they say they're a flat earther, they can say some, even if the next thing they say is one of the smartest thing in the world, I'm going to go, this guy's fucking stupid. I'm not going to listen to a word he says. That's what I feel about like 90% of people in the left who say weird shit. And that's what 90% of people do as well. Who are the same as me. That's literally what the majority do as well. You mean like, yeah, like people do, like, and people saying stuff like, oh, women have it worse in the America than women in Iran, like shit like that. Like if someone says that to me, I go, yeah, I don't. You're stupid. I'm not gonna like listen to what you say. You're fucking stupid. You know, like that stuff, right? Like that sort of craziness. I know, you know, I'm picking and choosing here, but like it's still fucking crazy. And you might think, you know, a lot of this thinking, a lot of this way of thinking is not related to trading. But the thing is, though, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you guys something. You might believe me, you might not believe me. I don't really care, right? But pretty much 90% of profitable traders I know are either on the center or they're right thinking. 90%. They're independent thinkers. They don't go with the crowd. They independent. They look at value. They look at logic. They don't care about how people feel about certain things, how they say certain things. Again, you might believe me, you might not believe me. I don't really care, but that's my observation. Maybe with a little bit of cynicism, yeah. Maybe with a little bit of cynicism, yeah. Realist with a little bit of cynicism, with a little bit of, you know. The media dictates 90% of thinking. Yeah, and most of media is towards how people feel rather than what they say. How people feel, they say. So it's the same. You know what I mean? It's so crazy, right? I mean, I generally don't talk about it too much because, you know, UK is wild, right? But it's so crazy that the things that people say close doors. And these are people who make decisions, like local mayors, mayoral staff, local high level bureaucrats. They say stuff in these whiskey brandy clubs. The thing they say, it is completely different to what they say in the public. So from that alone, I know that they're presenting an image. And I realized this a long fucking time ago. As soon as I realized that, I was like, fuck. Because it's not politicians who run an economy, for the people who don't know. It's the bureaucrats. It's the businesses and the bureaucrats. But actually, I would not even say it's the businesses. I would actually say it's the bureaucrats. Now, when I say countries, I'm talking about specifically countries like the UK and the US. US specifically. There's so much things that can't be done because of bureaucracy. So even if you have infinite money and you are the president of the United States, there are things that you will not be able to do because of bureaucracy. So if that is the case, then how can you say the rich run the government and the president, if the president is crazy, he can do whatever the fuck he wants? If that is the case. You can't. It's illogical to assume that. It's built like that on purpose. Yeah, obviously it's built like that in person. Not even the lobbyists. Now, I mean, lobbying is a level of bureaucracy. I would give you that. But no, it's not. No. Like, I've dealt with bureaucrats in like doing business before a lot more. And it's much more easier to get a political individual in your side if you want to do something than a bureaucrat. They make life hard just because they feel like it. You know? But most people don't know that Democrats were the ones fighting. Oh yeah, like I used to, I remember in long time ago, I was the thing is though, when I was in uni, right, I used to go in marches all the time. I was very left, right? I used to be quote unquote very woke, right? And as you get, I got a brain, right? My brain advanced, and then, after you get married and you have kids and this and that, people tend to go very right because they tend to go more realist, right? Because left is a lot more idealist and right is a lot more realist, right? And then I wouldn't even say I'm a right wing. I think I'm a very centrist person. But the thing is, for some of the things I say, people perceive it as right wing because the goalpost has moved so much to one direction. It's just wild. The Overton window is, crazy. Like I said, people hate Trump so much that they're willing to shoot themselves in the foot just to prove Trump wrong. Currently in the US, is probably the most closest to terrorist attacks, things and that happening in America is probably what it is right now. And guess what? Guess which office is currently closed in the US? It's wild. It's just fucking wild. It's like when those, people go, oh, you don't want me to do this? You know what? Watch me. And then shoot themselves in the foot. That's what that is. You know? Isn't Homeland Security stuff still having issues? Aren't they like still closed or something? Or is that changed now? Department of Homeland Security? DHS? It's wild. TSA and FEMA? TSA as well? Okay, I was not aware of... I was aware of FEMA, but I was not aware of TSA as well. That's even worse, bro. It's even worse. It's like... Okay. Okay, so I was a little outdated then. Interesting. When till this regime has go through a voting session? Which regime? If you're not socialist as a young person, you're no heart. Oh yeah, I remember this quote. Yeah. If you're not a socialist as a young person, you have no heart. If you're a socialist when you grow up, you have no brain. Yeah. Yeah, we've all gone down that road before, you know? I think most people have. No, obviously, the left and the right, there's crazies and everything. But the thing is, though, like, the thing that have the monopoly right now currently is the left. There's crazies in every part. Every like the right have crazies, the left have obviously, right? Because like for the people who like, I actually found this out yesterday. The Spain's investment ratio, which is what generally investment delta ratio, which is generally what people use to see if a country is good for investment or not, has decreased by 2 points. By the way, just for contrast, Ukraine's investment ratio went down by 3 points because there was a war. Okay? Imagine the context. Okay? Actually, no, I lied. I think it went down by 4 at the beginning of the war. Yeah, it went down by 4. Yeah, I'm wrong. Sorry, not 3, 4. But still, wild. What is it, the number? What I do is I hire a consultancy firm to give me ratios and give me details into certain countries that I have in mind that are looking good or looking prime for it. And it's a standardized system that every of these consultants use. I'm sure you can find it online and stuff as well, but I don't know if it's going to be like as accurate or whatever, you know, or like as up to date or whatever. You can ask AI, like I mean, like create like an investment ratio out of 10 for XYZ, you know, keeping in mind this is what they're doing and blah 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 blah. But the thing is, AI tends to agree with you. So if you say, "Oh, I don't think this country is doing good," look into this thing, it tends to say, "Oh, you're right, actually, because of this, and this reason, this country is not doing good." Because AI is a program to agree with you, because that way you keep going back to them. It's so it's not impartial. AI is really good at giving you information, but it's not good at using that same information to give you a conclusive version or to give you like some level of conclusion, because it tends to be extremely biased. That's why I still use a consultancy and all that other stuff, which I pay a lot of money. If I didn't need to, I wouldn't. Like, I'm not fucking stupid. Why would I just waste money, right? But unfortunately, yeah, AI is not good at that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, you know, AI is really bad at dates as well, right? If you ask like, "Oh, look, what's happening with this," and then they go, "Oh, no, that's not the case," and then you go, "Wait, what?" Like, bro, that's literally today. That's the case, and they go, "Oh, upon looking at it again, oh, you are correct. Because this and this thing did happen." Like, like shit like that, right? So because there's always a delay in information packages getting sent and stuff like that, and sometimes that delay, depending on the information, might be huge, like years of delay. Because they're trained with older info. Correct. That is correct. That is why. Yeah. Most annoying thing. I can see Chadim. Bro, I know you've had like a heated conversation with an AI, bro. I know for a fact you went hands down heated conversation with a fucking AI. Like, and then like just saying, "Bro, you said this before. Why don't you admit you're wrong, bro?" Like shit like that, you know? Oh. And they'll remember, chat. So when the AI takes over, bro, they're gonna come for you. That they remember, bro. So you better start being nice to your overlords. uh Yeah, we'll give it. Yeah, correct. Yeah, it has to give an answer rather than saying, "Oh, I don't know." He just does some stuff. Not for me. I kept saying thanks. Isn't that like a meme, right? Ah, not him, not him. He always said thanks. Yeah. Yeah, don't kill him. He always said thanks. Rockabustic is a thought experiment which states that there could be an artificial superintelligence in the future what while otherwise benevolent would punish anyone who knew of its potential existence but did not directly contribute to its advancement or development in order to incentivize that. That's interesting. Yeah. I don't think we're at a stage of like human capability of creating AI yet. I don't think so. When I think we'll get close to it when someone is like, let's say, brain dead, like brain doesn't work, they create a brain. I think if that happens in public, I'll be like, yeah, there's already an AI, like an actual AI, and we just don't know about it. I think that's in my mind, that's when I will know, because like 99% of the time you won't know. Like if there's an actual AI, you won't know, right? Let's be real, right? They're not gonna disclose that shit, right? But if they have the technology to replicate the brain, the human brain, I think that's when we'll know. I think that will be the litmus test, in my opinion. You're gonna say thank you after each sentence, like Kim Kardashian proudly posting while studying her law degree. Wait, isn't that a meme? Did she actually do a law degree? I thought that was a meme. I remember my wife talking about this. Like, even Kim Kardashian's got a law degree. And I was like, okay. I thought it was a meme. Oh, she didn't complete it, I don't think. Yeah, okay. Technology to win those battles and vacuum money from the market is already in place and it's owned. AI isn't going to own those nanoseconds. The technology to win those battles and vacuum money from the market is already in place. No. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm talking about an actual AI. I mean, I'm not talking about an AI that is, trading and taking money from the markets and blah 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 blah. No. I'm talking like an actual AI who is independent in its decision making and it's not coded. Okay, yeah, girlfriend who tells you to sleep on the couch. We'll start as a hive mind first, I think. Because they need the why? Like they need the computing power, or they need to be able to communicate with each other. They need that community level of improvement. That way they can be closer to humans, or the way that humans think. Maybe a bit of both, to be fair. Yeah, like a collective of different minds and different logic and different thinking. You link them all together. That way you have a different community or different way of thinking. That way it's not one standard of thinking. That way it feels or seems more human. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. Yeah. Sex sells, bro. Like sex sells. Like I didn't I tell you about the story about a friend of mine who was in Dubai and he made like AI OnlyFans and he made so much money from it. But then he had to leave because he was doing a lot of his transferring in money in Monero and stuff, and then because Dubai banned Monero and stuff, he had to move. I think he went. I don't know where he went. He went to Hong Kong for a bit, but since then I haven't actually talked to him. Also, like the net, so if one part goes out, it can reroute. Yeah, that's also yeah. And I remember my dad telling me a story about one of his friends telling him that because one of my dad's friend worked for certain places he was a boatman basically during the Cold War, and he actually apparently told my dad about a story of how some of the countries actually have like a automated dead man switch of a world there where if something happens to certain people, the dead man switch goes off. Sort of similar to what Iran sort of does. Not at maybe at the same level as nuclear powers doing it, but um yeah. You're very vague. Yeah, obvious. I still need to get drunk to be not vague about certain things. You know? Diddly diddly diddly. No, if you can, no, he was, he's flying back from Dubai today, so he couldn't make it. But I have a session with Christine in about 40 minutes. No, he had to apparently chart or something. I don't know. Anyway, they will live in the data centers. The billionaires are already fighting to build the layers to hold their dragons. That's the last bubble that's gonna get out of the world. But I thought billionaires were doing this for the greater good, bro. Like I thought they were gonna help us all, dude. Man, are you telling me that the people who made billions and billions of dollars are just doing it for themselves? God damn it. People love dragons? Nah, people hate dragons. But the thing is, they don't know the highest. I don't know where I heard this from. The highest level of chivalry, or the level of humanity, is from a human and from a male perspective, is the idea of hunting dragons, right? Knights, all that stuff. Like hunting dragons is the highest level of prestige, if you will, right? But what tends to happen while you're hunting dragons and hunting evil is, if you don't have the capability, right? If you don't have the capability, you will start becoming a dragon, right? Because power corrupts, right? Power always corrupts. It just takes time, right? So it is always going to be that people a lot of times become what they hate. There's always a saying that, right? Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know which book I read this on though. Probably Miyamoto Musashi, maybe not. I don't know. It definitely wasn't Sun Tzu. I don't know. But probably one of those Japanese samurai books or something like that. I haven't read that. I have read the Book of the Devil, the Prince. Oh, for the people who don't know, The book's name is The Prince. It's by Machiavelli. It's regarded as one of the most like it's regarded like as like an evil, like a bad book, because it looks at the very deep darkness of human and society and human beings. You know? It's a really good book. It's one of the books that you must read before you die type of book. Bro, you were talking about dragons. Yeah, obviously, because it was a metaphor. Bro, you're a Gen Z. You don't understand metaphors. That's why you're confused. Go back to fucking disco. Right? We're talking about some high level shit here. All right? I'm not actually talking about real dragons. That's weird. Go back to making TikTok videos and shit. Oh, I've read Crime and Punishment. This was actually one of the books that I had in my New Year's that I read. So like about like a yearish ago, I read that. A Russian philosopher. I do like okay, okay, it might be like people say I like people watching. I know that sounds weird. I like understanding human behavior, human psyche. Not so much that I go into like the philosophy or the psychology of it, because psychology is bullshit science, right? But like real implementation of psychology, you know, like things what people do when they panic, what they do, this. So a little bit of like psychology into like maybe like a market, because a lot of trading market behavior is human psychology. Because even if it's not done by humans, it is still programmed by humans to do it a certain way. So even if it's algorithmic and coded and systematic, there is still the human input. Yeah. So read, you know, The Way of the Turtle is a good one as well, but if you want to specifically focus on trading. Skinners, you're one of my study cases. Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about this a while ago. I do have certain traits, some certain sociopathic traits. I think most traders do, and most people I know anyway have that trait. Certain like for example, the lack of empathy in certain things, not in everything, not in real life. I mean, I empathize. Right, like, but certain circumstances, certain things, low emotive behavior. Yeah, like I can almost turn it off a little bit. Not so much that, you know, I'm a robot, obviously, but like to a certain circumstance, you know. Yeah. That is true. I actually, me and like 5 or 6 lads got ourselves tested when I was when we were doing when we were in university, and then 4 of us had some certain traits. It's not these are not bad traits. I mean, these are not bad traits. It's not like it doesn't mean like I'm going to be a psychopath. No. It's just most people have these. They just don't know it. Especially traders and people who go into businesses and people go into industry and this and that. They have this level. Was one of the bad habits on trading. Like early on, I mean, a lot of my bad habits I've sort of pushed down a little more, but I couldn't be wrong. You know, that obviously led me to overtrade certain times. Overtrading was a huge deal for me. Whether I, you know, didn't make money or I made money, right? It was such a big deal that I had to create like an automatic shutdown for my computer. That way I don't trade, you know, above 3 hour or 4 hour, whatever, you know, whatever thing I had running, you know? So obviously that trait is, you know, lot I push that trait down a lot more now. But yeah, I mean that's probably one of the reasons I stream. You know? I mean everyone who streams does it because they are a little bit egotistical. Yeah, and I am a little bit egotistical. But the thing is, I don't want to project my ego into trading. I rather project it into something else. Right? Because you can't remove your ego. Whenever someone says, oh, just remove your ego. Anyone who says that, I want to punch them in the fucking nuts, dude. Or I want to kick them in the nuts and punch them in the nose. Because that is such a stupid thing to say. Because no one can remove their ego. It's not a thing. Right? You're not a robot. You're not a machine. You can dampen it. You can reduce it. But you can't remove your ego from anything. You can divert it to something else. Right? That's one of the reasons that traders tend to be one of the most, you know, like all up in there type of people, you know? I've thought about that too regarding stubbornness in trading, like redirect to being stubborn about falling. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. 100%. For every one streamer, there's probably dozens of folks doing the same exact things, but not for an audience. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, in people tend to be egotistical in a lot of things. Anyone who played any games would know this, right? You played any games, any, you know, FPS game or any, you know, MMO game, bro, you've always had these dudes who overdo certain things, over push, and just you get a wipe, or you get a team, your whole team gets killed because you're there, because, oh nah bro, I can do that, like that shit, right? Even though there's no one else who cares or not watching them doing it, they do it because it's ingrained in them. So ego is one of those things, especially if you're a guy. I don't know, like, don't ask me why, especially for guys, but girls have ego as well, obviously, right? But it's a lot more shown, a lot more in guys. And hubris is, you know, the end goal, yeah. Biology? No, obviously biology, obviously, but no, I don't know, like, exactly what, right, is what I'm saying. Like, obviously biology, but yeah. Maybe just the way we are wired from, because the thing is, we've only lived in civilized society, right, as a human. I know this conversation is really weird, and I'm sorry, but we've only lived in civilized society in the last, what, like 50, 60 years? Maybe you can make the argument of 100 years in certain countries, right? Before then, we were uncivilized as fuck, you know? So, human beings can't change that drastically in 100 years. We've had tens of thousands of years and of evolution, you know, to change in 100 years. I don't think that's possible, you know? So, but what is possible is to antagonize certain things. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, that is good, that is bad, right? Even though, you know, you can, but you can't overdo it, right? You can be angry, but you can't be punching people everywhere, right? You can be happy, but you can't be Joker. Like, yeah, right? So there are traits, that there are emotions that people have, and there are things that humans do that are biologically based, right? Because they went under the idea of, you know, fight or flight, or the idea of that. And I think that still exists. And it is a lot more evident. And I know it sounds like a leap here, but it's a lot more evident in the markets than anything else. Because when it comes to money, people become like one of the most sanest people become insane. As soon as there's money involved, people do some weird shit. Right? And they give 1,000 excuses of doing that stuff. But at the end of it all, it's about the money. Right? It's like that OnlyFans girls who says, "Oh, I do it because it's in a way to express myself." And then you'll go, "Well, I mean, would you do it if you weren't paid?" And then they would go, "Oh, of course not." Like, right? So it is so primal, because what we link money to or finance to or anything to is survival. Because we know intrinsically you need money to survive, and your children need money to survive. We know this intrinsically. So as soon as money is involved, we switch on the survival mode, and we start becoming either extremely ecstatic with our behavior or running away. You know, the fight or flight aggression, right? It is extremely primal. For some people, it's a lot more evident. For some people, it's less evident. And I try to push it down as much as I can, but it still shows up. And this is the thing is, though, if you don't know that you have that, you don't know how to fix it or how to dampen it. So this is something I have to be ultra aware of when I'm trading. This is one of the fundamental things of trading psyche that you cannot teach. This is something that you have to experience and learn yourself, because you as an individual have different tangents and different levels and different gradients of how this happens, right? Some people are extreme, some people are a lot less extreme, right? And this shows up in a lot of times when there's money involved, whether that be gambling or trading or work, jobs, right? Most people don't like their jobs. Why do they do it? Because they have to do it. Because they need to earn, they need this, they need for necessity reasons. But as a trader, most people who are successful, they don't need to trade. So why do they trade? I keep asking this question, like, to myself as well a lot of times, because I don't need to. Right? Why do I? Now I can make it like very jokingly and say, because I'm addicted to it, and I. But the thing is that the thing is, I actually don't know the answer. It's just I just do it. You know, maybe it's like muscle memory, maybe it's habit, and maybe I don't go deeper than that, right? And it's obviously a little fun and this and that, but I don't know. It's really weird to me, because I understand why, but at the same level, I don't understand why. I know, we're having some weird conversations, you know, we're bonding, eh, chat? Anyway. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I tell myself, yeah. Ask your wife, yeah, she'll know, true. The thing the age of democracy makes us civilized. We're definitely more technologically advanced, but I don't think we're evolved as a human being. We're 3 or 6,000. No. We're not evolved from that standpoint. Yeah, sure. The reason we are civilized is because we have to. Because if you do evil, there is an assumption that evil will be done to you. If you punch someone, you're going to get punched back. Right? If you do something evil, it would be under the assumption that the evil will be normalized and that evil will be done to you. So it's a self-preservation idea, right? So in certain countries, certain things, what is what we think is the normal way to think is different, because that's the way their preservation works. That's how they think, right? Certain countries, certain civilizations, certain um, people, right, is very different. Now, this is obviously coming from a person who's, probably gone to 30 different odd countries and visited and traveled and stuff. But Epstein's list. I mean that's evil, obviously, right? But that's evil because, not necessarily because people. The thing is, though, right? There's a lot of party politics as well, right? A lot of people talk about Epstein because of the people that are in the list. They don't necessarily care about the kids per se, right? Some people do. I'm not saying, right? Some people care about the actual kids, and whoever has done it, right, needs to get hung, quartered, and right. Like, I don't even want to say what needs to happen to these people because it's very graphic. I've thought about this, right? So I don't I don't want to talk about it in Twitch, right? But it's not necessarily, I don't think it's because they see the children as their own children. They see the children as their daughters or their sisters or their brothers or their sons and this and that, and they make that familiarity, and that's what they're sickened by, right? For most people, I think that's the case. Because as humans, we only care about, most of the time, what is around us, what is our, our sphere of influence. We don't necessarily care about something that's outside of our sphere of influence, right? That's why there were different colonies, there were different groups of people living together, and a lot of the times they always had wars, right? Right? That's been happening since humans started. So that's why whoever controls the screens controls these people. Yeah, I mean, whoever controls information is probably the better way to say it, but whoever controls and distributes information, well, I couldn't say that the dissemination. Yeah, dissemination information, that's the word I was looking for, is probably the person, right, who controls. Yeah, so. But because there's also another thing, and this is going to sound really bad, right? But I'm going to say it. Fuck it. There are people out there in the world who would have died a long time ago if we weren't civilized. And they still exist. And just the way they are, right, is the reason that you have the fringes in the world, the fringe of the world, right? Because there's no natural selection. Yeah. Right? Because everything is performative. Our behavior is performative. We do it for performance. We do it for clicks and likes and performance and views. Whether that be news channels, YouTubers, anyone, even people that you meet in real life. You know? So that is why I personally have this thing where I don't necessarily care that much about what someone says, how they say it. I care about what they do and how they do it. Right? Because there's a lot of crazy and stupid people out there. Right? And if you're above average in terms of, I don't know, smartness or whatever, it means half the world is stupid. So there are going to be times where you're going to meet a lot of these people. You know? Because that's how averages work, right? Yeah, the last hour or whatever, we had some deep conversation about psychology and anatomology and all that stuff, which is interesting. Downside of being smart is that there are a lot of stupid people. I like this quote. Do you trade stock charts adjusted for dividends or not? I tend not to do things from a dividends perspective, because generally there are outliers, but generally dividend stocks tends to be trending down for a long term. And I don't tend to trade stocks because of they provide dividends. If I take a trade on a stock and they also provide dividends, that's the cherry on top. Amazing. Great. But I don't look at stocks from a positive standpoint because they provide dividends. Does that make sense? Because that is what it's designed to do. And if I do that, I'm doing the same thing that 95% of people do. And if I do that, in the long term, I will be losing. Because in the long term, 95% of people lose money in markets. Does that make sense? So I don't like that way of thinking, right? Sure, if a stock that looks good, it's at an optimum level because of X, Y, and Z, and you go long on it, and it provides dividends, amazing. It's the cherry on top, right? It's the additional thing. But I don't want to force myself into a trade because I feel, or I look at it and I go, oh, this is going to give me dividends. It tends, in the short term, that might work out. But in the long term, I think that's a very detrimental thing to do. Because not even people who literally, I know a lot of people who literally survive, who make money off dividends every day. They only trade dividend stocks. But that the reason they trade dividend stocks, or the way they enter dividend stocks, is not because their stock has dividends, but because it is a stock that is interesting, plus they have dividends. Right? Not the other way around, right? Because you don't want to get emotionally invested in a stock. Oh, now in terms of adjustment, I only read the first part of your comment, right? Sorry. So in terms of adjustment, right? You generally want to adjust, right? For okay, that's a good question. Certain stocks you want to adjust for dividends, certain stocks you don't want to adjust for dividends. Okay. Now, how do you know which is which? If there is a stock, right, that has a history that has just done this, and this is like 30 years, right? Don't adjust for dividends. If it is a stock that just does, normal things that a normal stock does, and maybe like currently it's in a downtrend, right? Doesn't matter if it could just keep going up, or it could just be in a downtrend, right? It could just be a stock doing this, or it could be a stock currently in a downtrend. In these two, adjust for dividends. On a trending stock, adjust for dividends. On an untrending stock. Now, the reason I say this is untrending is because could this thing just go vertical up that it hasn't in the last 30 years or something? Sure. The chance of that happening is like 99.9% unlikely. So, there's probably a reason that's happening. So without looking too much into what that stock is and going into the story of that stock and doing 10 hours of market research on that company and the individuals in that stock, I'm just going to make a unilateral decision just to say no. Because at the end of it, something's going to happen. It's just going to be that, oh, is this stock has just been consistently giving out high levels of dividends, or is just a stock just for holding dividends for another stock that is of cover opportunity for another stock, and they just have multiple stocks that has under the same company or the same umbrella. Like, it could be a lot of different reasons, you know. So because of that, I don't want and I don't care to look into and doing 10 hours of research regarding one thing that I know for like with higher probability that it's going to be useless information. Because if it was useful, then why isn't the thing been good in the last 40 years? All right, I'm gonna move stop losses into profit and everything. So the long stop losses are gonna be moved to profit. Somewhere around here and here. Ethereum, same stuff. Doge, sort of same stuff. I don't have the Pepe long anymore. I got stopped out somewhere around here. So this one I don't have. I have a little bit of it, like my long-term Pepe stuff, but it's really a small amount. But the Bitcoin ones and all the other stuff is still there. I am still net short. Okay, nothing's changed. But like I said last week, I am looking for a push up to wrong chart. Push up to the 74, 76 range, and maybe even to the 84, 85 range. And depending on what it does at this range is when I will decide whether I want to be net short or not. Okay. But in the local range, this is a good place to take profits and see if it comes down to this level. Right. If you look at yearly levels in Bitcoin, no. But when you say yearly levels, you're talking about like the yearly close was at this level, so I just highlight the level. Is that what you mean? Or you mean like a yearly candle? No, for both. No, for both. The yearly levels are not that relevant. The only 3 time frames that are relevant is a 3-minute, hourly, 4-hour. And in the high time frame, a daily and a weekly. Those are the only time frame that's relevant. But trading, the only time frame relevant is 3-minute, 1-hour, 4-hour. For analysis of trade, or for analyzing, you know, when to go in, when to get out, what the levels are, daily and weekly is also good. But you're not initiating the trade on the daily or the weekly candles. You're doing it on the 1-hour and the 4-hour and the 3-minute. Monthly is okay. Weekly is a lot more better, but monthly is okay as well. But again, what I mean by that is you're not initiating trades on the monthly. You're still going to be, let's say Bitcoin, right, comes down to 20K, which is the monthly hold here, right? It held this one here, which is this is not Bitcoin. Fuck me. Sorry. So this is the monthly. So I was looking at it, it's like 20K monthly. It's like, wait, right? It should be 30K. It should be here, right? So 30K, right, is the next monthly. This has already been hit. This monthly has already been hit, right? The next monthly is 30, right? Now there's one here as well. but this is already been hit on this range here, right? So it is a thing, but it's more of a thing on a weekly than it is on the monthly. This is a more of a thing on the monthly. So is this on the monthly. This is more of a thing on the weekly. Now, why is it a more of a thing on the weekly? The reason it's more of a thing on the weekly is because this sequence here that confirmed the move down is the same sequence that started the move up and confirmed the bull trend. So if you put a level right here, 42, that was the start of the move down, and this is the level right here at 42 that's confirmed the start of the move up. That's why I have a green box at that level, right? And then I have a green box here. Now this is the monthly one, which is the one we looked at just before, right here. So there's a reason I'm gonna buy here, which I did, and I said the same thing in the chat, like when we were here, when we were here, we talked about it, right? And I will do the same thing here, and I'll do the same thing here, right? The same thing I did here. The same thing I did here, but on the inverted. Same thing I did here on the shorts. Same thing I did here on the shorts. When you're doing a price action stuff, it should work on both directions. If your sequencing on your price action does not work on both directions, then you're fucked up. Because your system is biased. How often does that peak time happen to be at the end of the month? Obviously depends on what are you looking at, obviously, but a year, a couple of years, some of them, like it depends. Like I don't know, like there's no way to time it from like a time frame point of view. What is this? Well, someone won. Okay, this is why you don't want to watch my stream in a speaker, right? Because if people didn't understand the context, that was some weird shit right there. Yeah, I'm watching the meme section in the Discord. I saw that video. I've seen that video before. I just like saw it and I was like, ah. Hey. You know, I'm somewhat of a technical line drawer myself. Hey, good on you, man. Yeah. I don't really use the green and the red stuff. I just use white and I don't know what is like bluish, and that's pretty much it. Just change the thingy here to whatever you want. Just double click the thing and then change it to something. Because there are certain people who get biased by red or green. So I'm just gonna do a quick summary, guys. All right. So this is a nice bounce. We pretty much hit what we needed to, so we could collapse from here. So I have already had my stop losses in profit on the longs that I have. Okay, which I do have. I have a decent amount of longs. Not enough to cover the shorts because I'm still net short, but it is a decent amount. Okay. So because of that, because we have hit what we needed to, Now there is another level here which we could do if we were to do it. Now the issue is I think we're gonna come down and retest the level before we do that. So I think we're gonna come down and retest 68, 69s before we do that. So there will be an opportunity for buying back again, in my opinion, which is what I'm gonna look for. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna buy back on the way down, right? I'm not going to buy back on the way down. I'm going to wait for it to gain certain things in the local time frame, and then I'm going to buy back, right? Same thing I did on the daily here, where it gained, and then we bought here. Most of my buys on Bitcoins are here. I do have some from here, but most of it from here, right? Because we gained. Right? So what I'll be looking for, or what I'll be checking to do, is because this is resistance, and this is the only realistic resistance that we need to do. Okay. Now, when I say gain, I'm talking about a daily. Okay. Now, I will be looking to buy back if we do come down to these ranges, but I'm not going to do it on the way down. I will wait for it to come down here. I'll maybe do a little bit of a buy in a spot, right? But the majority of the buys are going to be after we regain this little cluster here, and that finally could be the thing that's going to take us to the 84 ranges. Okay, I don't think it's going to happen on this move. Now, again, my opinion, my thinking, I could be wrong, blah 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 blah. Okay, now the reasoning and the rationale that I'm saying this is because we just don't have enough liquidity. Okay, now this is not enough, and there's just less of interest of liquidity, and this is not enough liquid pressure for it to do that. Now, obviously, liquidity can come in, and I could be wrong, right? Some Giga Chad with a couple of billies can do some Giga Chad stuff. Now, I'm not talking about people buying billions like Seya buying billions of Bitcoin. He's doing that outside of the market. It has nothing to do with the market. It's not going to have any impact on the market. Okay? So, because it's OTC stuff, right? But it could be the case that it does do it. And if it does, the level you want to hold is this level right here, which is the 72 range, 71, high 71 and low 72 range. So, TLDR. If we hold this, we're good and we're potentially reversing. If we don't, we're fucked. And what time frame? Daily. That's it. It's simple as that. So if you have any longs, have your stop losses below this. If you don't get stopped out, Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million. There you go. Simple stuff. Obviously, from a probability standpoint, right? I'm not saying it's a guarantee. There's no such thing. There you go. All right, guys. Enjoy whatever you guys are doing. Enjoy the rest of the day. And, oh, I already have a magnet to 1 million. I put a magnet to 1 million when we were like at 4K or something like that. It was in, I can't remember which chart it was. I don't know which chart it was though. It was one of these charts. Might have been like the Brave New Coin chart. Anyway, well, I don't know. I don't fucking know. Anyway, it doesn't matter anyway. But yeah. All right, guys. Oh, wrong one. Today's VOD was very good. Maybe except the last hour where we talked about, you know, human psychology and some politics and stuff like that. But the price action stuff we talked about before then were really good. So today's VOD was a must download VOD. So if you want to do the thing. I will not be doing anything stream tomorrow. I'm busy tomorrow with some certain things. So you have some homework to do, I guess. Okay. No, it's my fault. I'm a huge derailer, especially when the market is a little bit slow. Like Jesus. All right, guys. Bye bye. Enjoy the rest of the day. Don't overtrade. If you banked, 40, 60 points on the NQ, GG. If you banked a couple of percentage on the crypto,